bit when we talk about like
Yeah.
the Twitter thing. Like it's very true in that sense.
Yeah,
That
is it true that outside is 19 No, what's the meme? Outside is 2013.
outside is 2013. Like, or do you mean culturally?
Yeah, there's
No,
a few
no,
like
no,
yeah,
no.
it's not
Heavens, no.
true. It's not true.
Everyone, well, you could argue in 2013 maybe that in the sense that outside it's 2007 or 2004 because not everyone was
Yeah.
online back then. You can't tell me anything about culture when everyone and their mother has a means and a way to be part of the zeitgeist or whatever constitutes the quote unquote zeitgeist TM
Yeah.
nowadays. Because I mean, like your Twitter timeline or whoever you follow on whatever respective social media accounts. A mutual friend of mine had said it like your timeline feed is your ethno state in the sense that you decide who comes in and who doesn't in terms of borders. That's what the follow button's for. It's your borders.
Yeah, not the for
Whereas
you. The for you is like terrible,
your
but
for you is like the international airport, or you're like CNN is playing in like the waiting room of a doctor's office, and you're like, oh my god, get me out of here. Whereas, like, so on Twitter, demographically, your Twitter feed is effectively like 1940. It's nice, it's polite, everyone shares the same opinion. And then you step outside. This is the reason why Twitter's not real life. Is that Twitter's not real life in the sense of demographics. Although with the number of Indians on there, I guess you could say it's reflecting closer to reality. But based on who you follow,
it's Canada.
it's Canada. You know, like Twitter is like Montreal. But if you step outside in the United States, it's US 2025, and your Costco looks like the Dallas Fort Worth International Airport or LaGuardia, and it's terrible. And so that's the major difference between the online and the real world is just your demos.
No, we were talking about that. Like, I was gonna do the Rabbi Mr. Kai bit about like, you bring me 100 right wing posters, 10 of them have good takes, have good insight, half of them Indian, half of them is. I was gonna do the whole bit. It's like 20 to 30% of them are gay. No, but I had this tweet blow up recently. That was based off of an article I wrote many years ago for a website that doesn't exist anymore. Um, about teenage bedrooms. It was based off of that Salinger art photographer series.
Yeah, I saw that. It did
Yeah.
blow up.
Yeah, and I felt really, like some people are idiots. They're like, that's not the like, they'll get into the whole like, Ebonic speak, like you could still do that. It's not the point. It's that so much of life is online that the sort of like expressive nature of being in a physical space and having a commandeering of your own space, especially with teenage bedrooms and youth culture that was intimately tied to music for Gen Xers and millennials, it's sort of hit different than nowadays. And it's not to say like, people don't like, I'm sure teenagers still decorate their rooms, but then like a lot of people, and yeah, a lot of like people that I'm not ideologically aligned with jived with the take and like posted photos of their own bedrooms, and it was nice, but and they were saying like, well, a lot of it is because of economic circumstances, why people's physical material life doesn't reflect a sort of inner being, doesn't have a sense of dwelling, as Heidegger would say. And it's sort of like my mother has recently gotten addicted to urbex videos, but usually
Those can
the
be pretty
more
cool, actually. I'm
oh
not gonna
yeah,
lie.
yeah, me too. I always like I for years. I mean, I wrote an article on urban exploration on the Thermometer magazine days, but she likes the ones where it's like, mansions from like mid-century and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like there's this one guy, his name is Noah Nowhere. And I'm sure he's like a good guy. He's Canadian. He's like a normie. And he has a pretty good working knowledge of like all of the wainscoting and all the different fixtures and aesthetic elements, but he's always like, man, it's so tragic that these larger homes are going to be torn down to then have a subdivision with townhouses, that it's like, the Canadian government's like, I can fit so many Indians in this thing. And it's like, that's again, that's another reflection of like the aesthetic poverty of real spaces. by economic and bad public planning necessity. But my point being is that, like, I was looking at that, I'm like, it's nice to have a take finally blow up based on a form of cultural writing. And so, like, it felt good. And I was looking at the PDF of these old articles that I did. And, some of them were about, like, incels or whatever. But then a lot of them is, like, you have Zen Buddhism, you have other, like, internet-based stuff. And I'm like, man, like, why, like, it was so, it was so crazy that I sort of drifted into, like, focusing on political hot takes, and it was like, I felt bad, like, not to say, like, the people liking and reposting with all the pronouns and things like that, not to say, like, they wouldn't be shocked and horrified at, like, what I believe or whatever, but I do think that it made me consider things in perspective of what you're actually doing online. And I felt like, I felt like I strayed from my original mission. And, but anyways, you were saying, Prude?
At least on this stuff, right? Like it is interesting in the sense about like bedrooms, because what feels like a byproduct of nostalgia, or at the very least, like, oh, I remember my bedroom looking like that, or
Yeah,
I remember decorating these things. Like you said, it is very much a byproduct of the Gen X, like MTV music generation, where everything was about bands. Nowadays, I think it just depends on what your interests are. People like to decorate with all sorts of things, whether it's Lego sets, or I think Displate is the big. We're not sponsored by them, by the way. But like the whole like metal magnet, you can have a poster up the way that you want for a particular video game or whatever is your fancy. I don't have any posters up in my room now that I think about it. I have a few pictures and paintings. I have a bunch of prints of old advertisements with frogs on them that my fiance gave me a couple years back, which I appreciate. But I mean, I don't have much out there outside from what's in my prayer corner. So my walls have always been bare, and I think it's always because I've never lived in a place that was like mine.
That's what people were saying, Prude. They're saying, it's like people travel so much, it's like you don't have time to, like, really
I mean, for me it was because like I lived either
and economically
on
as well,
or I lived on post, or I lived on off base in like a house that we had rented when we lived overseas. So it was like there was no reason to decorate, and also
or you rent places. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, or if you're like a renter or something like that. But like even now, it's like nothing I can't fix with like spackle or cover up or wipe down. Like it's not a big deal.
Right.
I don't know. It's just interesting. Like I don't think about what my room used to look like. It was pretty bare just because I didn't really start going to concerts and stuff until I was like in high school and in college. And even then it was like, yeah, it's cool. I'd rather get the t-shirt or the CD than anything else, like, so I don't know. Like for those who are younger, the under 30s, the non-unks of the chat, you guys decorate your rooms? What's in there?
Yeah. Some people were saying Zoomers still decorate their rooms.
I believe them. I just don't know. I just don't know what they're into.
It's funny, that super chat. I was actually mentioning that apparently Half-Life 2 is Unk Slop. That's like
it's like 21 years old.
Some of these kids weren't even born 21 years ago on the internet. That's crazy. Can you imagine like your life? Like, can you imagine like Half-Life 2 is older than you? That's crazy. I don't know. That's like it's like
there are members of this chat right now, I'm sure, that are listening that are younger than most of the games I play regularly on the air, which is totally fine. It's just a reminder that your youth is fleeting and that you should live every moment like it's your last.
Well, yeah, true. But anyways, this is Digital Archipelago 147.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. A lot of crazy things have already happened. But then again, you never know.
We're 9 days into 2026.
Oh my God.
It's nuts. There are still 356 days to go. I want you all to think about that. It's
like that Tintin meme. It's only Wednesday. You know that Tintin meme?
Yeah. Captain, it's only Wednesday. It truly does feel like that.
It's
What
been
a
a hell of
week.
a year, huh?
It's been a hell of a year. It's like, sir, it's January 9th. That's definitely the case. It is strange because it's like you ask anybody, hey, what happened last year in January of 2025? They'd be like, well, Biden left, Kamala left, Trump got sworn in. They did a whole bunch of things.
They
Can't
didn't
tell
have
you
a
what they
public.
were.
Yeah. They didn't have a public thing though. It was like in a private corridor.
It was
thing.
indoors because of the extreme cold, which I think is I can't tell you the last time that there was an indoor swearing in ceremony, but I also probably think that they did that indoors because
security.
Well, shit, two different guys tried to kill him at the end of 2024. Like, I wouldn't be surprised either if I wanted to have it indoors with a little more manageable security. So yeah, we're basically a year into the second Trump administration. It's been wild. 2025 has been interesting. We're 9 days into 2026, and you can just do things literally. And I think one of the bigger takeaways for me, because you and I are both so online, I don't want to say terminally, because that implies I'm going to die of being online. And perhaps there's some truth to that matter. If one lives by the sword, he will inevitably die by the sword. And if one lives by the post, he will inevitably die by the post. I don't want to see how far I can extend this biblical exegesis in fear of my own life. But one of the things I've certainly noticed is that 2025 was the year that I think everyone collectively had decided to play the game, at least and what I mean by that is that it was very easy to wake up and go hysterical.
Right.
It was very easy to wake up, see something, and go absolutely ape shit over it because allegedly either your guy was in office or something that was positive for you is now going in the exact opposite direction. Ergo, I must worry. It created a beautiful false dichotomy about, you're either completely on board and you have unwavering faith in a person or an official or an administration, or you are constantly in a state of running around with your like a chicken with its head cut off. And I don't particularly like that because I think that there are a few people out there that are still sane enough to be able to say what is good and what is bad while still staying somewhat consistent in messaging, which is very hard to do in this day and age. God knows that if we were to look back on the entirety of the show, I'm sure that we have flopped or we have moved in different directions on particular issues. God knows that that's true. And I mean, obviously there's room for development and growth. But at the same time, there's also this like bizarro world wherein 2025 was just like, it was the same shit every day in the sense that it didn't matter what was happening. It didn't matter what the headline was. It didn't matter what was going on, as long as you stayed on board screaming about a particular issue, and it didn't matter how you framed it, you had to connect everything back to it. It was, I guess we all just started screaming, and we all decided to point at different things, whether it was the ground, whether it was the table, whether it was a train, whether it was the sky itself, and said it was falling. And I think that the Trump administration has, in the same way that like October 7th, the war in Ukraine, the COVID, and countless other things, it was one of those, like, I guess, pivotal moments, or what do the kids call it, a canon event, where everyone suddenly has to have a side, or their entire worldview shifts, and it kind of breaks them in some way. Not saying that people are completely mentally broken, some certainly are, but it is like, I just want to, like, the whole last year was just this, like, I hate the term that people use, like the in-shitification of things. I really don't like that term.
Right.
But like there has been a great in-shitification of social media. And a large part of it has been, and this has been an ongoing trend, I think a lot of it has to do with what platforms you're on. And I think the biggest thing that made X terrible was the monetization. That was a big thing in 2025. That was the year everyone started to hate India.
Yeah.
If there was one group that had a really bad year,
it was India.
I would say in terms of PR, it's two countries that start with I, and I'll let you finish that puzzle for yourself. But
yeah, true.
Yeah, what a crazy year to look at this. I'm sure media
justly deserved
them
both. Justly deserved them both.
Oh, yeah.
No, but both those I countries, like you were saying, made people crazy though.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think, but yeah, finish your
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's my big takeaway out of 2025. I think it's the year in which it's funny, when Dimes and I covered spinal catastrophism, one of the more interesting sections that Moynihan discusses was the concept and this phenomenon known as railway spine, where people would kind of seize up and be left in a state of shock. And the
Mm.
argument was is that the spine wasn't necessarily prepared to handle moving at such speeds on the locomotive trade, which is kind of funny now because I can move at such speeds of most locomotives just going down my local like service road where I live. And that change in acceleration and pace, I think really does put people into a state of perhaps lizard brain or even like a
Mm.
catatonic state of shock. And I think everyone's kind of gotten a form of railway spine where they've gotten like Twitter spine or something like that, in the sense that things move so quickly or things become such virtual non events that unless you are engaging in some form of auto amputation where you're saying things don't happen or you're just focusing on one particular issue or you're staying within your like clan, i.e., the gang that is your group chat, that you can easily find yourself overwhelmed with the degree of speed. And I think the left is better at this than the right because the left is always in a state of perpetual like catatonic hysteria or histrionics because everything is
Mm.
happening all at once and it's the end of the world. And I think that the
Cortisol
right
levels are spiked all the time.
exactly, right? Their cortisol is spiked all the time. I think the right, or at least like right-wing Twitter to some extent, got a little taste of that in 2025.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's cortisol levels were spiked, and the jokes and the memes and even the activism all kind of came to a close because it doesn't matter what you do online. It does matter also what you do in the real world, and we do know the consequences of that now. And so it was really funny. I was telling Ben Boyce this. I said, a couple of years ago when Jim Midaker announced that he was like going to stop streaming regularly due to his health, Morgoth wrote an essay called "The Year the Internet Stopped Laughing," which was
Mm.
part obituary, but also like part like just like an era of online, politics and stuff had kind of come to a close. And of course, I think the biggest event for American politics in 2024 was, or 2025, excuse me, was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And you can't
Mm.
really look at 2024 any sort of differently other than like I think that is the biggest event that took place outside of, the Trump administration coming in, was that the guy who really did help change the game, so to speak, for get out the vote and ground game and activism, was shot in cold blood in broad daylight on a college campus by a left winger who was very happy about it, who shows no remorse and was dating individuals of a particular
Persuasion.
paraphilia persuasion. And there's still little that we have about it. I know that the trial is unfolding as we speak. And you're left kind of just reeling from that because, for years and years and years and years and years, I mean, long before you and I were born, there have always been people on the right that says, if the left had it their way, they would kill you. And, is despite the claim that a million Charlie Kirks would be born out of that, obviously not. The right entered a beautiful civil war after Kirk was assassinated. And there's a lot of people that are left reeling from that. But also, I think that the right in general, both institutionally but also online, is in a state of disarray because there's not a lot of money and there's not a lot of popularity with the Republican Party with very good reasons. And to a point where even the Dems know this because they're like, well, just attack the party, attack the individual members of Congress. Don't even attack Trump at this point. Like, it's just easier to cripple him that way. So it's, for all the highs that may have happened in the first half of 2024, then you get to, what was it, in September 10th, and then like, oh, it really does change real quickly, and it's kind of wild because it's like, what do you say to that other than like the left kind of knows the same way that they knew with like the Butler assassination attempt? They know that the right does operate under the lens or some paradigm of great men, and they understand that leaders are vital, and that those in
Mhm.
charge, if you take out the head of anyone like decapitation strike, that it works. And they succeeded with someone like that, and they left a wife widowed and two children partially orphaned of their father, which is terrible. So I hate to get so dour, but like that is really the biggest event I can think of for like American politics, is like
Mm.
they did kill the best optically appearing person who had spoken very quite plainly that unless you address the issues that the right is being outflanked on, affordability, the job market, etc., they are going to abandon you for people that offer you solutions or at least claims of solutions. Like Amy Acton will easily, I think, do very well in the sense that she can campaign on affordability and a sense of Ohio-ness that Vivek obviously can't, right?
Right.
She's not going to do anything to make your life easier. She will make things more unaffordable. She will do things that make life worse for the average Ohioan. She will vote to the left of Mao every time, as every Democrat does. But at the same time, right, like Kirk's last really big public appearance was on like Tucker Carlson for media outside of his own show. And yeah, it was, I think he was very prophetic in his appearance there.
I think the problem is, how can I say it without being cruel? Or at least appearing to be cruel. It's not that the Charlie Kirk thing doesn't matter, but the people in power made so that it didn't matter, if that makes sense. Because nothing was done about it. And they actually didn't really care about him. And the fact that the right was willing to just, submerge itself into just the typical infighting and light switch brain response into like what my camp really thinks about this and what theory I can have to like put my head above the crowd. Like all of that stuff really sort of muddled the legacy of what should have happened. And I'll give you a good example. There was someone that was fired who is now winning a $500 million lawsuit in some institution over Twitter posting. And it's just, it's a tragic thing. It's not that he didn't matter. It's not that it didn't matter. It really was the most important event in American politics of that year. Maybe this one, or at least one of the most important this decade. But in terms of changing things, unless there's some kind of 7D chess move that's going to happen, I don't know. I think in a weird way, a lot of internet discourse, de-radicalization is not a proper word, but perhaps lessens the blow of real actions. In the sense that a lot of attention and a lot of hot air and a lot of just mental bandwidth is exercised. But after that news cycle goes away, at such lightning speeds, then you readjust and then it's business as usual. And I think so. Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean, Prude?
It has. Yeah. I mean, so much of the last year and even now, 9 days into this year, it's been live by the headline, die by the headline.
Yeah.
And it's so quick for people to unironically make an ass of themselves because they'll say one thing and then it ages like, it just ages terribly because some new information comes in a day or two later. Literally, we just witnessed that this week. Something happened and then more information comes out a day or so later and it totally recontextualizes things. Or at least it should for some people, and it doesn't at all because we live in a world where we can look at the same thing and have two fundamentally different interpretations of it. And it's funny because it's been long discussed, whether it's been with COVID or other issues, that we can look at an event happening and we come to radically different conclusions about it. And again, like everyone's like, oh man, it's so sad that like reality doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, well, reality in a large way, at least politically speaking, is entirely predicated on who has the power to enforce narrative control.
Right.
And there's not a lot of that going around right now. And it's a tall order to enforce reality because it requires to have a large extent of the very kind of power that most people don't have. And it's just like, well, what do you do with that when most people don't have? They've already given their ability to think for themselves to somebody else, right? Like we don't live in a polite world where there is consensus or anything like that because one, we've become so fractured in terms of media, but also it's like, well, I'm not going to listen to you. Like you don't agree with me on things that I find to be sacred. So why would I have this conversation with you? This is pointless. And now everyone is in the same way. It's live by the headline, die by the headline. And when you do that, you're left realizing that, like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter that this happened and it is very consequential. It now entirely boils down to the fact that, like, do you have the same opinion that I do on a certain issue, or I can just outright ignore you?
Well, a problem is that, yeah, definitely media saturation is a big problem. I just think that a lot of people, when you look at the online rate, it was like that. I can't for the life of me pronounce its name. Plimco Journal, Plimco Journal on Substack. The British. I'm assuming they're British, right?
Yeah, it's a British publication.
Yeah, about like how you have cultural capital, but only online, and you don't have the benefit of material power. Which I think a lot of online social movements, from like New Atheism to Gamergate to now the current iteration of the online right, has that same phenomenon of not being in the position of material power, or like pretending you are, even though there's vastly different interests that determine that, what you want isn't really politically salient to what the donor class or what certain geopolitical interests want. But you have this form, largely because of Musk and Twitter, you have this form of online cultural dominance that can very easily be burned out if it doesn't seem novel anymore. And I think the difference between even like the directly pre-Trumpian online right, or even during 2016 to 2019, before ClownVid, you had a different tact when things were sort of built upon one's intellectual worth rather than entryism, memes, nothing else. And let me read everybody the excerpt from this article. I think it's one of the greatest ones ever written, in my opinion. Dominating online culture, but only online culture. So this article is called "No Post Woke, Only Post Chud," and he talks about the Chud right, the current like, let's call it the For You tab right. Let's call it that. The dominating online culture. Where is it? Oh my god. Yeah, but only online culture is an extremely dangerous position to be in. That is not because Twitter isn't the real world. In many ways, the online world has become the most real, leading to a strange hyperpolitics unmoored from the material realities and concerns people face in their real lives. The average person is a terminally online content consumer who only engages with ideas in terms of their digital symbolism. Because of this, ordinary people may conflate right-wing dominance online with the assumption that the right has meaningfully taken power, and then is now in the establishment status quo. We lose the cultural capital of insurgency without the material benefits of power. It would be not any easier to be right-wing in a white-collar staff room, but the left will once again be able to lay claim to the mantle of dissonance. This is even more dangerous because the right itself is equally online, and combined with the aforementioned apoliticism of many of its new converts, it will itself be subject now to the same confusions. When Elon Musk on Twitter, okay, so I can't read that part. Whoa! Look at these super chats. Holy crap. Oh my god. No, maybe I shouldn't be so black.
Back to the things that matter.
Back to the things that matter. No, that was something that I've been saying for a long time, which is that you can have a form of cultural capital online, but that's very easy ammunition for people to go back and say, well, you were in power for X number of years and it didn't really matter. Or rather, even though the sort of goals of power aren't achieved, they can easily go back and say, well, you had 10 years and like you created this like jackbooted tyranny and, it's sort of over for you. So yeah, I think like that's something like that article really put into words what I've been thinking about for a very long time, when it comes to online dynamics and politics. And something that I think outside of America is a bit different, as I've said before, because the right in the Anglosphere in particular, rather throughout all of the Western world, is not in power except for America. And even still, you can, there's a huge asterisk question mark on the degree to which the quote unquote right wing is also in power in the Western world as a whole.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, there's the institutional question that often doesn't get addressed.
Right.
It's like, well, how much of this is still the quote unquote deep state,
Right.
Which is a totally valid thing to ask.
Well, especially geopolitically, because a lot of people think that just because one administration's in power, that the Washington machine, from a geopolitical perspective, for example, is different, but a lot of that same institutional mission is still there. And I think it's very hard for any administration, regardless of political persuasion, to sort of sway the ship,
Oh, it's a tall order.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it is very safe to claim and say that a lot has changed very much for the better. And to say otherwise would be to ignore what has been done. I mean, for as many complaints that people do have, I mean, the refugee cap is at like 7,500, and it's almost entirely reserved for white South African refugees. Like, these are good things. And we saw like I told this to Ben, I said, 2025 had become something I've said quite often on the show. It's been like the most nakedly obvious political moment of my lifetime, where like everyone is honest about what they hate or what they're for. And it's very nice to see that, because like, okay, we're now all on the same page, so to speak. And it's all incredibly upfront, where we're just doing things because we said that this is what we want to do. And, you don't have to like that, because there's a lot of things I'm sure that some people may take issue with. But it's like, okay, well, this is where things are. And it's the same thing with the left, too. They have no problem being upfront about what they're against or what they want to do to you. And it's like, okay, like, this is where we're at now. And, I'm not someone who had adhered to this idea that, like, you should support the other side because that's, somehow better. I think that, even if you don't like what's happened so far, you've bought yourself time. And I think that's arguably the most important thing that you can buy yourself, because that's one piece of currency you really can't ever get back.
You said this on Millennial. Yeah, I remember.
I mean, some of this too. Man, I've been on more podcasts in the last 3 weeks than I've done really in a long time. I'm very glad that you and I took a vacation, because I wanted to be done recording for a while. I was like, good Lord, there's enough going on as it is. But yeah, I mean, I've said a lot of my stuff for 2025 already on other platforms, whether it's on Millennial, which I was on the USA Banquet. I put a link on the community tab. And also just and Ben and I talked for almost 2 hours, which was a really good time. I thought it was a good one. But it just kind of comes to show that I think my friend of mine had said it best, and this was in a private conversation, but I mean, I won't reveal the details, but he had said something along the lines of like, this is the first somewhat competent right-wing government I think anyone has ever really experienced in America in their lifetimes, and it still feels like a drop in the bucket. I mean, like, if Trump 1 was any indication, it was just like how massive the problem really is. And then you're brutally exposed to what the stakes are, even more so as he's gotten rid of. And then we see what happens in 21 with Biden and just the outpouring of the border and everything else. And now it's like, okay, everything feels existential, because you either A, believe it is truly existential, which I think most people would agree that the stakes are, or you're in the position where, like, even if you don't think it's existential, the left certainly thinks it's existential, and they'll do everything in their power once they get it back to make sure that, they get revenge. So yeah, everything feels life or death. And I think that in a lot of ways, a lot of people, both online and offline, have put themselves into the perspective that, like, everything is do or die. And I think that there's very valid reason to think that. And we certainly saw it in 2024. We saw it when they tried to kill Trump the year prior to that in 24, and then Kirk in 25. And then everything going on even now. So it's just like, yeah, everything has been, we're all crabs in this pot. And are you going to crab bucket your way out to drag someone else down? Or are you going to try and, escape without getting pulled off? And I think that's the tall order.
Cause it said, Huizat said the stakes have never been higher, the bar has never been lower. Yeah, that's kind of true. Although I don't know, though. I mean, I question the whole like logic of side taking. I mean, yes, there is a side, but I think with this recent thing that happened, you know what I mean? I think like there's some confusion. Although, yeah, the recent body cam footage did kind of look.
It wasn't even body cam footage. It was literally cell phone footage.
Oh,
you didn't have a body cam.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about it, if you already gave me
I mean, I have no idea. I'm supposed to be recording something about it, I think, with Oren tomorrow. So maybe, I mean, it just depends. We can get into it if you want. I think that, as others have said, this has been very much what the left wants, which is questionable optics for use of force so they can galvanize their people. Like, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
In terms of the left.
Well, let's move on, because I could sense the itch in our audience turning against me. So let's move on to another topic then. Okay. But I just think that things could be done a little bit better. That's what I'm saying. I think that never mind. Let's move on.
We could clamp down on the left better. You're absolutely right.
No. What I mean,
I know.
The whole thing of like I saw this debate that Morgoth had with our friend Dimes, and become more left wing. I haven't become more left wing in the last year, Pac-Man Respecter. I was always like this.
I would say that Gio has remained incredibly consistent. Whether you like that or not, Gio has remained a consistent man of his opinions and takes.
Well,
and there's something respectable about that.
Even
if I disagree sometimes, I think that there's something very commendable about being able to stay consistent.
I think that my opinion is more of the response. You know what I mean? I think that, was this woman in the wrong? Obviously. But I don't know, the whole like sadism over it, to me, I think Morgoth was striking a point there. And I think that obviously I don't know, it's hard to say because she is contemptible in a lot of ways, but I think that the online right and certain elements of the manosphere that have influenced it, there is like an anti-white woman polemic that is also very prominent on the left, by the way. Like, I think someone mentioned the Aaron Bushnell thing. I think it was you or someone else.
Someone else. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
Unless it was privately. I have not really discussed the issue publicly outside of saying that DHS and ICE personnel should all have body cameras when they're when they're being deployed. Because if the big takeaway for me was that, like, that cell phone footage, like a lot of police body camera footage, showed that the use of force was, in my opinion, completely 100% justified. And I think that, when you exist in a world where it's already going to be a questionable opinion, where everyone more or less is going to already take their respective side. And I mean, like, even Mike Shelby from Gray Zone Intel was just like, what is there really to say than everyone is cheering on their respective, guy or martyr or whatever. Like, there's not much more to say to it other than the person in question, both the shooter as well as the person who was shot. Everyone's got their side. And I think that, again, it's a nakedly obvious thing where it's just, people are going to either be upset, or they're going to take joy in it, or they're going to react however it is accordingly, because at the end of the day, there's very little opinions to be changed or people's minds to be changed on these issues, because why would there be people changing their minds on this stuff? Like, everyone's kind of very upfront about what side that they're on. And even if they say that they're not very political, eventually you're going to scratch somebody beneath the surface and you're going to find out where they side on these things, either because you irritated them or because like you finally crossed a line on what's considered sacrosanct to them or whatever. And I think that that's sort of where we're at at least at this point, where it's just like, okay, I'm now in a position where everyone is upfront about what they want or who they are or what they support. And I mean, I think it's in a large degree, I think everyone's seeing on the right the same kind of vitriol or the same kind of joy / rage over what the left did with Kirk. And it's just like, yeah, everyone is happy when someone on the other side that they deem to be the enemy, is taken out. And that's ugly and that's sad, but there is no, polite civil society anymore. What exists of American civil society is armies of bureaucrats and NGOs, all angling
and special
for ways,
interests and
special
corporations,
interests, both foreign and domestic.
apps.
Trying to make your life a living hell, and they're going to, and they're going to try their best, and they're very good at that. And so, yeah, I mean, it just kind of comes to show that like any claim about like trying to get along is a very, I don't want to say foolhardy, but it certainly seems that way, because it's like, well, can you even ask of anyone to do that? And the answer to that question is obviously not. Because why could you? And it's like, no, not at the present moment. Unless you have more political control, and by that I mean power, on either side, they don't. The right has limited power, and where it is, yes, in the administration. Culturally, it is relegated largely online in a lot of places. And then at the same time, with the left, it's like, it's on every major mainstream news network, on every platform of social media, as well as like every Netflix show and etc. I think someone had described it best that like the Fight Another Day or the One Battle After Another was like the first Harris administration film. And it's
that's a good one.
And it's like, this is kind of where things are, in the same way that we had a whole bunch of TV shows predicting, if you want to call it predictive programming, but people who were all on board with like the TV show Madam Secretary with Tay Leone. It's like, how the hell is this not a TV show about Hillary Clinton? Like Secretary of State, da 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 da. We have a sexy Hillary Clinton on TV. Oh wow, look at that, honey. Like, wow, I could vote for a woman. So I think it just kind of comes to show how much things have come to a head. And yeah, and Twitter is obviously, it is it's dominated by chuds. And I think that that's not going to go away until the platform truly just shits the bed.
I think the two things I will lay down. One is that I think I get like what the chud right Twitter thing, like you have to have a level of hardness and you're not going to make it. But at the same time, I think that in terms of higher principles of identity, it's very hard to say that like, okay, are these people my enemy, or are they of me, but they have gone astray and they've been programmed and they've been taken in by a very cruel ideological and anti-civilization system, and in totally different circumstances, these people that are the same as me on fundamental levels, right, that they would be my brothers and sisters. But we don't live in that world, and we live in a fallen world, and so we're sort of forced to pick sides against one another in the Western world. And I think that's a tragedy. I think we can all agree that that's a tragedy, right? Now, maybe people on the political left, and I think the people criticizing the response by the Twitterati right, I think they sort of, the one criticism I will say towards that side is that they overestimate the left's capacity for that insight as well, because they don't have that capacity, because any like solidarity among our people are like, that's verboten, right? That's but I do think that the sentiment is still a correct one, and I do see that like the white woman has become a punching bag, has become this bipartisan punching bag. And not to excuse what this woman did, obviously what she did was very stupid, and other things I probably can't say on YouTube, but I think that the whole situation around is a great tragedy. But the second thing I will say about the ICE thing in general, the one theory I'll take I will have is that in terms of psychology, even the political left, despite all of their rhetoric of like ACAB and all of that, they do not like typical law enforcement. Say it was a police officer, apart from like really true radicals, like like weathermen and weatherwomen that like do things like bomb the Pentagon, and then they go to Cuba for 20 years and they come back and they get a poet laureate grant or whatever. So apart from like those people, the average garden variety person on the left or the right, if they see like say a police officer or even a military, say it was the National Guard, they would obviously have a level of deference towards that. You know what I mean? Unless you're like a totally antisocial freak, or you're a criminal. That goes without saying. But I think the difference being is that when it comes to ICE as a governing body, they are viewed as political actors. They're not viewed as national law enforcement or a national body of law enforcement. They're viewed strictly as political actors. And I hate to say it, but a lot of people that signed up and joined ICE, they also view themselves as political actors. And so they're not given the level of respect because they believe that these people are agents of the quote unquote right wing and not agents of the state itself as a law enforcement body. So that is what provokes someone like this woman to drive, so many miles to this protest and blockade the vans. And I think that is like the psychology that's operating there, is that they don't view them as law enforcement. They view them as another political organization. Like the political left, they think that.
Well, yeah, that would be true. I don't think anyone's gonna negate that position. Yes, the left views them as political officers, and I'm sure a lot of people who did sign up do that. Even though, yes, they do have law enforcement power, and they should be seen as such, or they should be treated as such, because yes, they are law enforcement, or they have law enforcement power, I should say.
But I think the way they market themselves, unfortunately, has been.
Well, I mean, but I think the point is that, yeah, of course it's going to be seen as unfortunate. Or I mean, if you're on a certain side, yeah, it'll be viewed as unfortunate. I think a lot of people do explicitly join up because I want to do what I, voted for. And there's not a problem with that. But you're also right. There is a whole generation of people, and there's a whole bunch of left-wingers that view this as nothing more than, like I'm bashing the fash. I'm fighting against the forces of Trump and fascism.
They're Patriot Front with guns, basically.
Well, they're left wingers. They're progressives that want to fight the good fight, so to speak. Right. And we want to do the right thing. We want to stand up, and we want to do all the things that we believe to be correct and true and awesome. And I mean, it's also like the fact that I think this is the first time ever that the left, with any sense of impunity, or not impunity, but they're operating for the first time ever where there's actual consequences. Right. This isn't 2020. This isn't there isn't some stopping of we're just going to stand aside and let you do your thing. Like, no, there are people that are here with a mission that want to get things done. And yeah, like there's going to come some significant cost of perhaps what used to be considered civil protest or anything like that. But again, it goes down to the fact that, like, are things existential or are they not? And I think that that's a big question, because if you are on both sides of this question, if you really do think that it is this existential to your way of life or what you view to be democracy or America or the country, and you've done this before and you think that you're not going to get in trouble, or there's going to be basically no consequences to your actions, And I mean, like, not just this one, but there have been countless others that have operated and acted like they're smug and that they're not going to do anything and that they're smiling and they're like, oh, you can't really touch me. You can't do anything.
There was one
about
person that
that
actually did run over an ICE agent, if I recall.
There's been multiple attempts over the last year of people using vehicles to either box in or to deliberately shut down or try and impede these actions. And I think in a lot of ways the real tragedy is that we have such a left-wing culture that has no problem turning these people into martyrs or into political actors that can easily just be sacrificed willy-nilly for their actions because they have been emboldened to act the way that they have, which is to get him and to drive and to take action by any means necessary. And while that can be seen as unfortunate, and I think the vice president said it best, like I can view the loss of life as tragic, but I can also view it as this was something that was done in part by their own hand. And I think that at the end of the day, that's probably the most sane take that you're going to get from anybody, which is that
true.
This person has been radicalized to such an extreme extent that you're not going to get any real if it wasn't going to be her, it was going to be somebody else. Someone else was going to do it.
I think the problem is that people view it as like they have a sort of anarchistic, like, black bloc, I'm going to smash windows at a riot just for the sake of it. I think to the leftists that are doing this, they view it as like, these are red state chuds that are coming invading the community. And I think that's like their thing.
Yeah, that's been the case since this all started.
Yeah. And I think, like, my criticism has always been that I think the level of which the official ICE accounts on Twitter and Facebook and wherever play up into that thing is, I don't think, a very prudent use of power. I think that there could be again, if they would have done things a bit more quietly, I think it would have been better for everybody. It would have been certainly better for the average ICE agent on the street that, maybe if they were embedded in normal law enforcement, maybe they could have, you know what I mean? I think that
that would require the local law enforcement to cooperate, which for most for most blue cities that are sanctuary states, that's never going to happen.
True.
This is the same place, Gio, that the left wants to crush the right with overwhelming force and take away your guns and religion, but magically the 10th Amendment and federalism means something to me when it comes to making sure that the federal government doesn't charge me with racketeering or fraud for the billions of dollars of the taxpayer money that goes to remittances or maintaining health care for people who shouldn't be in the country to begin with. And so again, it goes back to a very fundamental question is do you believe that the stakes, as some have said they are, to be that existential or not? And I think that for a lot of people who join and for a lot of people who resist, it is that existential. And I really don't blame anyone for really thinking that, because I certainly, have witnessed in my, at least, I don't know, all of this woke era has been nothing more but like the nice politicized erasure of my culture, of my history, of my nation, of people that look like me. So I really don't blame people who join or do anything that want to act like a political officer, because in a lot of ways they've kind of been given the green light to act that way, and they're acting on a very important mission, which is to make sure that people who are here in this country illegally they're sent back to where they came from. And that's a very noble goal and mission, and it is a shame that I live in a society that wants to impede that and to prevent me from having a country, because i.e. that's racist, or white people shouldn't be allowed to exist. And so I mean, really all that I feel like this entire discussion kind of just boils down to the fact that I think for a great majority of people, opinions are not going to change. Maybe potentially on the right, where there is a difference of opinion. And I think it's the only difference of opinion that matters. But at the end of the day, it's just like, the stakes are what they are. And I'm not really surprised that some people are taking kind of a sick joy out of it. I think that, while tragic, I'm not surprised.
No, but that goes to the greater sort of bifurcation of American society in general.
That it's sick, it's deeply divided, and it's not really a country.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, you can't really but like you can't the fact that a federal body does have such difficulty with things like that is a greater commentary.
Because they're enforcing the laws on the books. This is the crazy thing. Like, yes, they've been given an extreme amount of money. They have more money than the United States Marine Corps, but it's like we are simply enforcing the laws on the books. And I mean, this has been the basic point that I think most people who voted Trump on immigration would even agree with. Is that the rules on the books allow this kind of power to happen, and someone's actually trying to enforce it. And there are God knows how many people in this country illegally, either through visa abuse or the people that Biden let in and took advantage in all the ways to keep them in. And so it's like, yeah, there are countless millions of people who shouldn't be here, let alone the entire question of like, what is an American in this like hodgepodge of nonsense. I think there's a pretty straightforward answer to that, obviously. But like, I think that at the end of the day, Gio, it just kind of goes to show that, the body politic of the United States is not healthy. It's deeply divided. And for a lot of liberals who are white on the left, they have such a displaced empathy and such a displaced degree of prioritization that, like, for them, they would rather choose the Somali or the Afghan or the Venezuelan or the Mexican over those that have been here and want to maintain what the country was, because that's considered racist or bigoted. And as much as the meme about, oh, this is just like a religion, like that is sacrosanct to them, that's sacred to them, that is everything that matters to them. And this is two fundamentally different worldviews and realities that are clashing. And it goes to show that, like, you cannot have consensus, quote unquote, baseline reality again, where everyone kind of agrees on these principles of meritocracy or colorblindness or whatever, unless you are willing to enforce it. And so far, the only people that are willing to enforce any form of cultural hegemony in our lifetimes, up until maybe 5 seconds ago, has been the left. And do I like some of the posts and the memes that, like, ICE puts out? No, not really. It's not for me. I don't know who it's for. It's for the people they want to recruit, and so be it. If you're inspired to go do that, then I will support you 100%, because I'm 4F. I can't go out and do it. And if I wasn't a man with a kidney transplant, yeah, I'd probably fucking do it myself. But I also know that, hey, America is a deeply divided country. The left has openly campaigned and championed the Great Replacement. So it's just like, what am I supposed to say? The people are vitriolic and they're happy and they're excited to see their own bad guys, their ideal version of the enemy, like, get the boot. Yeah, I know it's not happy. It's not pretty, but I'm also not surprised in the slightest.
Well, here's a take from Zoo people disagree with me in the chat. Here's a take from someone much more right-wing than me, Reverend, our good friend Reverend. So maybe you might agree with him, the people in the chat. So this is in reply to the Morgoth thread that kicked the...
Oh, yeah, it kicked the hive. And any thread like that, even if I think Morgoth has some pretty good reason to think that way, and it does go to show just how, this is where things are in America. They're all these kind of threads or discussions usually end up just becoming a shit show, because it's just going to be the usual,
obviously,
knee-jerk European versus American posting takes, and it's always unproductive.
But here was a good reply. So if you people disagree with me, maybe you might like Reverend's take. What's getting lost in all of this is that big showy immigration raids where 20 people get arrested aren't as effective strategy for mass deportations. Anyways, less visible tactics like cutting remittances, freezing bank accounts, etc., would be far more effective. That
is 100% accurate. That is true.
That is not going to happen because, again, there are a certain subsect of immigrants that the donor class and the GOP actually do want. And so why isn't that should be number one priority for
I think again, this goes back to the same question about, I think I told this to Boyce as well, is that you have a Congress that does not do shit. Congress has effectively advocated for the last 30 years. And it's just like, there is only so much you can do via EO. And so, the first competent administration feels like a drop in the bucket, because in a lot of ways you are only working with like technically a third of a potential right-wing government. And also the staff, the civil service, the bureaucrats, everything else that's included there.
Oh yeah, they're totally invested in keeping the system the way
Well,
it
yeah,
is.
and half the Republican Party is invested in keeping the system this way. Like there's not not a
So that's
doubt.
my point. Yeah.
Yeah, like I do agree with you in that point that like yes, the raids are important because you need to show force, and I think that it also needs to send a message across that like we will come and we will find you. How much of those like self-deportation numbers are accurate, I had no idea. There could be much more economic pressure to do so, but also like with remittances and things like that. I know that Scott Bessent has announced things, and again, I think that the audience knows that I am not the biggest like Trump sycophant. I try to stay kind of grounded based on what's happened. That they've announced that they're going to start, going after outbound money that's like going after for Somalia, for instance. But also at the same time, it's just like we also live in an economy where not everything is like tied to the banking system. You have so many apps now that are like bank accounts, but totally not bank accounts. You know what I'm saying? Where it's very easy to have like your money in a place that doesn't require you to be tied to a formal banking institution.
Right.
So, not everyone is going to go send their abuela like $2,500 every like 2 months via Western Union. You should absolutely go after every Western Union or every place that says, enviar dinero. Like you should, hands down. It would be really easy to put a bus or a van of ICE agents in front of every single one of those places where it's like, we cash checks here, or you can send money for basically free here. Like that would be really an effective use of manpower, because not only are you going after remittances and you can force either like that thing to be done, but you're also probably going to be targeting people that may not be here legally.
Right.
And so again, Revenant's point, I do agree with. Like the raids that only get like 20 or 100 people. While I know that they had announced that they are going after like known wanted criminal entities first.
Right.
Again, it's what my friend said earlier. It's just everything that feels competent has fundamentally, it feels like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most frustrating part.
Well, speaking of which, this is a different topic, but do you know the whole like Twitter undressing thing?
The Grok thing, I don't.
Do you have a take on that?
I don't like it.
Oh, I hate it. I think it's
perhaps I'm living up to my namesake of being a prude. I just don't. I've had Grok muted since the feature came out as a Twitter account. So, I mean, I have not really seen it unless it's in screenshots. It's not my cup of tea for obvious reasons. I'm not a big AI guy. Not saying that it's bad. I use it for research. I don't use it for, I use for like data aggregation, but I don't really use it for anything else other than that. I probably should. I probably come up with better uses for it, but I don't know. It's just I don't like it, and I don't think that it pisses people off, sure, but I guess it's not my way to fight the left, so to speak.
No.
But also, it's kind of funny because Keir Starmer wants to use it to get rid of Twitter.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, in Canada
UK,
as well.
despite the fact that you can easily undress someone with like Gemini or any other app. The point is, of course, for censorship, and that's why they're doing it. I don't like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I don't want to see a bunch of AI undressed women. Like I don't want to see Zora Mondani's wife in a fucking Nazi bikini. Like yeah, I guess haha funny, but I don't know. I don't really give a shit.
It's one of those.
I find it very crass. That's all.
It's one of those things where you have to take the lesser amount of censorship for the greater prize, which is if Elon Musk wanted to fundamentally change political discourse, then having like Grok, like of course, like it's true that other, I will occasionally use ChatGPT for like brainstorming, for instance, when I'm going to like talk about something or write about something, and it's like usually it's only to confirm philosophic ideas that I've already had. But I think that if Musk's claim to buying Twitter was freedom of speech and to sort of change the discourse, I think like it is true that other chatbots and like other AI programs can do these things, but It is creepy. It is directly tied to a social media company, unlike other ones, maybe with the exception of Facebook's or whatever. And so if you're kind of like, harassing women or harassing politicians with like AI generated photos of them in bikinis or whatever, like I understand like why um like for a social media company that claims to be the voice of the world, the public space, then I understand like that's, you are held to a higher standard and it can be used for harassment
Oh, I
and
mean,
so on and forth.
well, I mean, for Musk and X in general, it's going to be used against
Yeah,
you. It doesn't really matter whatever you think
exactly.
of it. Like, I'm sure Musk doesn't like the idea that like his ex-girlfriend or his wife or whatever,
Yeah.
they've all probably been undressed by Grok, or that he,
He
supports it
probably does
himself.
like that though. He's probably a freak like that. But like
I,
yeah.
maybe I don't know. I would rather never. I hope to never live to find out what
What
Elon
is
Musk's.
real is
Yeah, I don't want to
thinking
know
is
what his
that.
real opinion on things are. I think I'd be
Yeah.
better off not fucking knowing. But
But
no, I don't like it. I think it puts I think it does put the company at risk. Of course,
right.
I mean, it's the same thing too. We already saw with the fucking age verification laws with in the UK. It's just like,
Yeah.
if you live in Britain, you have to fucking get an age verification thing to go read fucking Morgoth's Substack. Like, it's retarded.
Right.
And I mean, all of these things are going to do. And again, for you Americans in chat, mainly my audience, and I guess to a large extent Gio's audience too, but like, as bad as things are here, in terms of your ability to be an asshole on the internet, we have never had it so good.
Right. No,
Um,
because it's Keir Starmer in the UK and here in Canada, Evan Solomon have both proposed bills of banning Twitter over this. Now, I think strategically it would behoove Musk to basically curb Grok. He already did sort of kind of with only having paid users being able to use it to address people. But I think getting rid of the feature in general would be a step in the right direction. It would not give politicians this ammunition and it would quietly go away. Because I think even in Australia, they proposed a bill. I mean, obviously, in France, like, yeah, it's basically a way of just to ban Twitter. And I think it's wrong. And it's, like, it's just, I mean, some of it is funny. Like, I've seen Keir Starmer in a bikini, but it's like, what's going to happen. They're going to use it. It's just
oh
like,
yeah,
it's, yeah, yeah.
it's not something that, like, again, it's not a tool for me in that regard.
Right.
Like, but I also don't blame people for wanting to harass journalists and politicians that way. Because I mean,
True.
depicting
True.
your enemies as cross-dressing cuckolds is a tale as old as fucking time. So it's just like, this is a long-standing
Or
American
the Will Stonsel
English,
show.
you know,
Yeah.
the Will Stancil show. That's also true. Like, so it's like, I really don't have an issue in the sense that, yeah, like, this isn't, it's not something I find tasteful, but at the same time,
Right.
I'm also not gonna advocate for people to. Well, you should probably find out better ways to do it, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not gonna be able to stop anyone from harassing a
No, of
politician or a
course not.
journalist that way.
No.
I think, yes, that will be used obviously to try and get the platform banned, but attacking my political enemies by making them look ridiculous is a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
So I'm, like I said, it's not going away whether you like it or not. So unfortunately, people will try to ban Grok for that reason, or Twitter in general.
Yeah.
There's
So
just no getting behind it. I don't like it. I've had Grok muted since the whole like first version where they had the whole like, well, see, now we have Mecha Hitler, and it's like, we don't actually, but it's nice of you to think that. So I don't know. I like you had said, people will use to ban it, but also like, you're not going to get rid of it. So
no, true.
and just to be realistic, politically speaking, like, yeah, like, it's not going away. So I'm not going to try and monger over it in the same way that others may have. It's just here. And I mean, like, I think this is also because it is Twitter, where I think he is probably the most lax when it comes to AI takes, or
Yeah.
at least for Grok in general. Because there's no other social media platform that has this. He's the only one that has this. So it's like, okay, it'd be different if Instagram or Meta or whatever had something like this, but they don't. So this is
Yeah.
just the uniqueness of being on Twitter. And that's just par for the course of how things are going to be. And I really don't have much to add here. It is a uniquely Twitter problem, and that, you know, you have to take the good with the bad in that regard.
Yeah. So, anyways, what else happened in 2025? And we'll then go to predictions for this year. What else happened? It seems like a lot of things happened. Like, you know, it was like 1,000 years ago. Like, wasn't the
We bombed Iran.
yeah. Oh yeah. There you go.
World War
Might
III
bomb
did
Iran
not break
again.
out because of it.
Yeah.
To the surprise of many, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I think the big reason why maybe we're struggling, and this is the big thing that I've decided to, maybe I need to do a better job at when we decide to do these sort of more freewheeling shows, is like, I should do a better job of keeping track of like what actually has happened, because so much of this stuff has been like, well, you and I are on Twitter all the time, and the main talking points are very hard to keep track of because, again, we're online all the
Yeah.
time. And what matters tomorrow isn't going to matter, or what matters today isn't going to matter tomorrow. And I think that has easily brain fucked us. And like, man, what did happen this year? Or what happened 6 months ago? Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
I obviously can't remember it. Like,
Oh,
it's
the
really
Houthi thing. That was another one. Yeah.
the what thing?
The Houthi thing.
Oh yeah, now they're talking about like carving up Yemen again.
Oh my god. Haven't they been consistently carving up Yemen for like 15 years now?
They've been, well, this conflict with the Houthis has been going on for like well over 15 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or about 15 years, I should say.
Yeah.
It is just another one of those events that's like, oh yeah, unless I pay like really special attention or I start doing research, I have no idea what's actually going on anymore. But I feel like that's just with every event that's ever happened in 2024. Like, unless I'm paying specific long-term attention, I'm not going to remember, or I'm not going to find out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the timeline for 2025 on Wikipedia and elsewhere. Election of Pope Leo.
Oh yes, the first American Pope.
The Sudan crisis. I mean, when is there not a Sudan crisis? Well, we'll get to the tariff thing, I guess. Was there a
There's been
ruling or
ongoing
something?
trade conflicts.
Yeah.
The Congress passed, of course, the one big beautiful bill. They passed some stuff about, you know, countering Russia, which has also meant that they're going to punish China, or punish India indirectly for buying and purchasing Russian oil, which has gone into in effect, which has done allegedly some damage to the Indian economy. How much, I do not know. But that's another thing that's also taken place. And so like trying to like do the whole like, hey man, you remember this? And it's like, well, it's kind of hard to when I'm deliberately like nuking my brain every like day by finding out what the latest take is.
It's hard to think which any of these events have had consequence. I think like
I'm sure they all have had consequence. We have either lost the long-term capability to think like that, or we simply don't feel them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Jeffrey thing. Let's just say Jeffrey instead of his last
Oh
name.
yeah. The whole meme about the list.
The bungle
and it's
space.
just like, we brought all these influencers here, and then like we released even more documents. Some of them might be repeats of other documents that have been listed, and then we're gonna try and redact them. And oh, wait a second, like turns out you can unredact them really easily. Isn't that funny? Isn't that just a little bit silly? Don't you feel a little weird, Pam? And then Dan Bongino left the FBI after being, you know, called out for the whole list thing, to go back from being an actual tough guy to an internet tough guy. Ain't that just a kick in the head?
I think that's
the
really
candidate
indicative.
to podcaster pipeline continues. Former MAGA mommy Marjorie Taylor Greene quit Congress.
Oh my god, to go that really is like indicative of the whole thing though, like you were saying, Prude. Like, what if a podcaster was to be given power? What would they do with it?
There's a lot of podcasters that have been given power. I am unfortunately not one of them.
No, but then like Dan Bongino, they go out of, you know, they leave to go back to retweeting Mark Levin and Cat Turd. It's like that is the
and don't
legacy.
Forget calling Dave Smith an asshole.
It's exactly it's like that line from Casino you ever watched Casino?
Yes, I've seen Casino.
Where he's like, that's the last time they'll give street guys like that, like us, any of that money and power ever again. You know? It's like, that's the last time they'll give any of us podcasters any of that money and power ever again. You know, it's so indicative of everything. And then the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, like, so anyways, yeah, so 2025, I forget, I think it was Constantine that said this in the War Report. There was a lot of like to use a wrestling term, there was like a lot of storylines that were starting to cook that I think will have consequences far into the latter half of the 2020s, but also into the 2030s. The Ukraine war not being resolved despite the Alaska Accords, Trump's insistence on it, up to and including tariffing India, and sort of
and the conflict with the entirety of most of the EU.
Yeah, and let's just say other geopolitical dalliances as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, Turkey, Israel, there's like, this is not we're solving this in one go kind of issue.
Yeah. Africa might spark up again, but we've been seeing that since, we've been seeing
Nicki Minaj is relevant again, I guess.
Oh my God. Oh, no! The picture with Martin.
Oh, the AI, yeah.
Was that real or was it AI?
It was AI, buddy.
I thought he actually went to.
He did go, but he did not get a photo with
Nicki Minaj.
With Nicki Minaj.
But did he actually meet Drew Pavlou in real life recently?
I have no idea, man. I'm also going to assume that, considering Drew lives in Australia, probably not.
I think Drew traveled to America to confront a Somali daycare thing. Maybe not. Maybe
if
this
he
is
did,
all
good
just
for him. That's good for him. But I don't know how true that is.
But no. So the whole like the calming down of the Gaza situation, but potentially will be resparked. And there were people the other day after the Maduro situation that were saying like they're 100% going to bomb Iran in the next few days. And I don't know how true that is.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we decide to bomb Iran, but I mean, I also don't know.
Right. But what was I going to say?
So we've been building up the whole. We had been building up the whole question of conflict with Venezuela for quite some time.
Right. Yeah. Man, it's funny. People have already started to forget about the Maduro thing because of this ICE shooting.
Yes, things discursively will often lose track of what matters to them.
Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of strange. Like this, such a massive geopolitical actions, like all of a sudden erased from the news cycle. There was one take though. I don't know if you follow him, but he's more of a parapolitics guy. Although he started following me recently. Y2K. What's his account? It was about the Venezuela thing. I think it was a very good take. I replied to him recently. What's his name? Y2K. Oh, looming totality. Y2K mindset. He's a good poster.
I have not seen it.
He's been around forever, but he talked about Marco Rubio being a potential dark horse in 2028 because
I'm sure he considered it.
Right. Well, because this political coalition, like they won massively with the Maduro thing, and he might be in a position to, over the next few years, have greater sway over the Trump MAGA ship as a whole, and that might be his sort of like dark horse candidacy, where J.D. Vance's status as heir apparent.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that being discussed where it's like, oh, is this going to be a Rubio versus
Vance?
Yeah, a Rubio versus Vance fight, which I mean, I would see, but I think that in the time being that I would hope that they discuss that beforehand, for the sake of having a unit. I think it would be good for them to just be like president, vice president, and just stick together on that issue and just treat Rubio as like a second executive. I mean, he kind of already has been treated like a triumvirate between Vance, Trump, and Rubio, considering Secretary of State's, the oldest cabinet position there is. So, I mean, like, let it be. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if this played out the way that it does. So, yeah, let it. I don't know. I think it's still too early. The midterms happen. We haven't even had the primary fights yet, so God only knows.
Instead of him becoming like a GOP cudgel against
no, I mean, just if there's going to be a GOP cudgel against any of the sort of like unity or whatever inherits MAGA, it's going to be, it'll just be Pence and all the people who left Heritage.
Oh my God, all those losers.
Tucker Carlson started a war by interviewing Nick Fuentes. That also happened.
Oh yes, yeah. Nick Fuentes is going more in a different direction. But
yeah, I mean, it really just goes to show where media is, and I mean, so much of this is just predicated on media. Like, what policy has actually happened. Again, we're not really discussing,
right,
because we're usually not paying attention to those things, and also because almost everything has been done by executive order these days. So it's just like, oh, right, like there's not much I can discuss other than like, this is the world as we know it.
But you mentioned the India and the tariff thing. I think we'll talk a little bit about that, because like you were saying things that we don't really discuss. They're like, for example, like Stormy and like Quinones and Thomas, they talk about things like, the euro dollar and the poly market predictions. I was actually listening to Glenn Dreesen's program. He was interviewing Professor Zhang from UFT, the predictive history guy, and he said the latter half of the 2020s into the 2030s, I think China will have. I mean, I know it's kind of like an easy take, but like China with the whole AI thing, the chip production, will have more of a say on the geopolitical world than even currently. I think like the pivot to Asia will definitely happen by the time the 2030s gets, underway, or before the 2030s. And so,
well, I mean, this is why I think that this administration has been so predicated on following through with a lot of the stuff that was written in 21 by Elbridge Colby about the strategy of denial. Like, I mean, Venezuela functionally would have been effectively a good Chinese beachhead. I mean, they're already heavily invested in the lithium triangle in South America. So I see that like the U.S. national security document strategy focusing so much on, what is now going to be the emphasis on the Western Hemisphere. I mean, like a lot of this is predicated on countering China at home rather than abroad.
Yeah. Well, and Trump is going to meet. I think he's going to Beijing in April. That's what Professor Zhang was talking about.
He is supposed to go meet with him this spring. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But was there a tariff ruling or no? It's sort of up in the air still.
I mean, there are tariffs on the ground that are currently being enforced. How much of it is effective remains questionable. But I mean, it's something that I would have to do more research on. Gio, I don't have enough I can talk out of my rear end to say. I mean, it's certainly an issue with already existing domestic U.S. manufacturing. There's this big push to have more manufacturing here in America. So if it is effective, then we'll see. I don't know how much of it is. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah. Oh, the Supreme Court delayed the ruling today. So we'll see.
On more tariffs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. But let's go to like, I guess the big macro trend. What do you think is going to happen this year? Is it going to be more of the same, or it seems that when it comes to decades, I know that people have questioned the whole generational thing, like the future shock thesis. But it seems that the trend is that by the mid-decade, a decade is solidified as a thing. But I don't know about that, because the beginning of the 2020s was so radically different than everything else because of the clown vid thing. that it seems there are still remnants of, but maybe just because people wanted to forget in a very deep sort of way, culturally and discursively. Like, even I remember when Eddington came out last year, people were talking about that. It's like there's no other movie that you can think of besides that cheap Michael Bay one that I don't think really got released. Uh, but it seems that the 2020s was such a radically different thing because it put everybody in a form of stasis, more or less. But now that we're sort of approaching the mid of the 2020s, that is when a decade really cooks in terms of what the predominant thing of the decade is. And I don't know, though, because it seems like on an aesthetic level, people noted this about the 2000s and the 2010s. We don't really have we have a bit of like aesthetic or cultural breaks, but it's not like when people say like the 90s or the 80s or the 60s. It seems like there is a homogeneity, like we were saying in the beginning of the program, that we don't really feel a decade in the same way. Of course, you can say like, that thing is very 2010s. That thing looks and feels, and it's like that's the 2010s. But I don't think like what is the sort of real sticking point culturally, politically, in terms of our current decade. I mean, maybe the China thing will determine a lot of things. Maybe the Ukraine war petering out would be like another thing. But I mean, in terms of this year, it seems that there is we could look back on this if we're still streaming, oh man, beginning of the year is maybe the beginning of 2026 will be like a totally unknown country compared to the end of 2026.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah.
If it ends up being the case that like the end of this year is completely foreign to now. And I mean, we can't obviously look back on it and determine, because I mean, the end of the year, it'll be after the midterms, and that will determine who holds the House and the Senate, which will be a very close and ugly race. I have a gut feeling that Republicans are not going to do well. They already have a very narrow and slim majority in the House as it is. Like, something huge has to happen for I think the Republicans to do well politically on these issues, because the Republicans aren't popular. They're
right.
They're not popular in comparison to Trump, and you can only do so much campaigning. And also, like, the midterms historically have always been elections in which the opposition just does well, because either due to your voting coalition not wanting to turn out, or they simply don't care. Like, there's a variety of reasons. And so it's just like, okay, this is where we're at. And it's like, okay. I think that means that whatever comes next, it'll just be the administration working with what it can on legislation. And if not, it'll continue to act on a executive order basis, very similar to the last 2 years of the Obama administration after 2014.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I wonder. So I mean, obviously the midterm thing is going to be big this year. Perhaps the China meeting will be something. I don't see the Ukraine war ending this year. I mean, it depends on what's going to happen in the summer. The summer is usually a very huge uptick in fighting, but I mean, the Russians control Seversk. That's very significant. So, and also when it comes to the European economy, I think that's a little unknown thing as well. The European economy doing very disastrously this year would also determine a lot of things. People have predicted like the AI bubble popping. I don't know if that's really going to be significant. I think
everyone's trying to stave off AI winter, but I don't see it. I see that it'll be refined. I don't know if it'll go away entirely. Also, it'll still continue to see use in programming development, and I mean, it'll play a huge part in sort of all things culture war, not just like Grok undress this void. No, it'll be things like, well, are we using quote unquote like generative AI for everything from gaming to medical software. It'll be a large part of it. And I mean, it'll continue to go and improve or change. Those things aren't really going, I just don't see them going away.
Well, people have predicted that that's what the Greenland thing is over, so they could create like huge server banks in Greenland because of the cold.
It would be interesting. I mean, that's a hell of a claim. I don't know how true that is, but I mean, hey, if that is the case, then a frigid Arctic, barren kind of area that barely has a population where you can do that. That wouldn't be a bad place to build it.
Right.
I mean, like, you still have to build the damn thing, and how much of that will be built in the years ahead remains to be seen. But hey, I mean, that's actually really not a bad take. I could be wrong. I could be dumb because I don't know a lot about AI production, but that would be something to investigate.
Well, Alaska just a lot of oil in Alaska as well. Well, yeah, Alaska exists, but also like there's a question of chip production. I mean, I think there was some rumblings that Trump that wanted to encourage domestic chip production in America.
Some of that has tried to take off, and there's been a lot of investment for semiconductor fab production in places like in the DFW area and the surrounding counties. So I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it's just a necessity for national security to produce your own shit.
Obviously, I mean that. Yeah.
I mean, what COVID had shown everybody, not from the deep staters to anyone who wants to like do regime change, quote unquote, for a more America first foreign policy, it's that the supply chain is incredibly fragile and we are far too dependent on foreign powers, and there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. Do you think the Greenland thing is going to go anywhere? That's kind of like just.
I mean, this was being discussed in the first Trump administration. I imagine that there has been open discussion about wanting to take it or annex it or try and, get the Greenlanders to have some kind of referendum to leave. I mean, there has been this sort of basically soft decoupling, and I mean, there's not really a decoupling either because we still spend so much on NATO and the rest. But I mean, like, there has been this very emphatic push to like pursue an interest in industry, interests in industry, defense, etc., to make sure that hey, what the things that we want, are our things and not necessarily for you. Whether that be the question over the war in Ukraine and trying to end that on American terms with the Russians, or this whole Greenland thing, but also, there's been this renewed emphasis on telling Europe and the national security strategy, like, hey, demographics do matter. And unless you get that under control, like, we may have to reconsider our own position, which is kind of laughable considering the United States' own demographic problems. But I mean, it is a valid point. Like, hard to say that like you have Ireland's interests at heart if, for instance, the Irish prime minister wants to institute like a national Jesus on the like Catholic Church or whatever, like that'd be a totally different story. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen, obviously, but it is something to consider. Like, there is going to U.S. European relations will continue to be strained. Like, that's just I think, a given.
Well, that's what who's in the that's what Alex Delarge said in the chat. That will bring an end to NATO, the close military alliance and cooperation between European powers and America. Well, the relationship has obviously been strained. I mean, this is what Mearsheimer was also saying on Glenn Deason.
Hell, this is even what more like neoliberal security strategists, like even what's his name, Friedman, was writing about in 2015, right after Brexit. He was just like, listen, like, the EU is far more fragile than perhaps we realize, and also that it also shows how weak some of these like multinational alliances can be. Not specifically, he was referring more to the EU, but like the same thing applies with like vis-a-vis NATO. It's just like, NATO has members that hate each other. Like, Greece and Turkey are NATO members. They're technically allies, but also they have been stocking up their own equipment and dealing with their own naval policies for the Aegean that are very much not for what you would consider to be like in the interest of, say, the North Atlantic Alliance.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what do you do with that? And it's just like, well, eventually they're going to come to a head. And it's like, well, what happens when two NATO allies attack each other? And then that puts you in a really interesting spot. And then what happens when the largest financial supporter of NATO does something that pisses off everybody?
Yeah.
And that would be the United States. And so it raises the important question of like, well, where is the future of this alliance going? Could it be potentially like forever crippled? I mean, that's a very real possibility. Not that I don't know if that would serve a lot of people's interests. I don't think Europe is in a position to have like an EU military or have an EU military alliance. They don't spend as much as we do on NATO. But I mean, again, I think that there has been a lot of discussion. And also at the end of the day, any discussion about like European security and like where the strategic security umbrella is going to come from, it will be the French. The future of any sort of discussion about European security will have to come from France, because Britain left the EU, and also at the end of the day, France has nuclear weapons and a very capable domestic military, and so any discussion about the future of Europe has to include France, and that's just a very easy, straightforward thing to observe and take note of.
Well, that's what Mearsheimer was saying. That Trump does represent like a different, probably like a bit of the same goals as say Obama or Bush, but the fact that he's so openly, nakedly contemptuous of the Europeans is quite different. Whereas like other administrations would pretend to care about the concerns of Europe, and also the Europeans themselves, like in terms of the EU, they definitely are invested in America.
Much differently than what Trump's team would say they are.
Right. Like they definitely want America to pay attention to them still. That's why the pivot to Asia terrifies them. It terrified them under Obama. And in a lot of ways, like...
And in a lot of ways, it also brought the Chinese closer to the EU.
Yeah, into Russia. But also, like, the whole thing about Russia is that the war in Ukraine also is a way for them to bid for Washington's attention. And so they're not interested in stopping that whatsoever. And, so they an America that solely focuses on a geopolitical rivalry with China, which, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, would
it's sort of in the American national interest to focus on.
Yeah, exactly. That prospect utterly terrifies Europeans. And I have sympathy for the European people, obviously. I think that when it comes to the EU, it's a different story, but also it plays to the sort of, like we were saying, the tempered mentality between the Americans and the Euros, which is something you probably would really like this, Prude. This is an essay by Carl Jung. I'll read you an excerpt from. And this is in his collected work, Civilization and Transition, which is more of his political and social writings. This is called The Position of the West on the Question of Religion, and he wrote this around 1957. But he essentially, in a lot of these essays, predicted the New Age movement and so on and so forth. But here he says politically, what then has the West with its political and denominational schisms or schisms to offer a modern man in his need? Nothing, unfortunately, except a variety of paths, all leading to one goal, which is practically indistinguishable from the Marxist ideal. It requires no special effort of understanding to see where the communist ideology gets the certainty of its belief that time is on its side and that the world is ripe for conversion. The fact speaks a language that is all too plain in this respect. It will not help us in the West to shut our eyes to this and not recognize that our fateful vulnerability. Anyone who has once learned to submit absolutely to a collective belief and to renounce his eternal right to freedom and the quality, eternal duty of individual responsibility will persist in this attitude and will be able to march with the same credulity and the same lack of criticism in the reverse direction if another manifestly better belief is foisted upon him, his alleged idealism. So he was talking about the dissolution of religion in the Western world and disenchantment and so on and so forth. What happened not so long ago to a civilized European nation? We accuse the Germans of having forgotten it all already, and the truth is that we don't know for certain whether something similar might not happen elsewhere. It would not be surprising if it did. And you have to remember, you wrote this at the height of the Cold War. It would not be surprised if it did, and if another civilized nation succumbed to the infection of an uniform and one-sided ideal. So he talks about unconscious one-sidedness of different archetypes, and of course he said the German thing was Wotan. We permit ourselves the question: which country has the biggest communist parties? America, which forms the real political backing of Western Europe, seems to be immune because of the outspoken counter position she has adopted, but in a point of fact, she is perhaps even more vulnerable than Europe, since her educational system is the most influential by the scientific Weltanschauung and the statistical truths, and her mixed population finds it difficult to strike roots in soil that is practically without history. The historical and humanistic type of education, so sorely needed in the circumstances, leads, on the contrary, a Cinderella experience. Though Europe possesses this latter requirement, she uses her own undoing in the form of nationalistic egoisms and paralysis skepticism. Common to both is the materialistic and collectivist goal, and both lack the very thing that expresses and grips the whole of man, namely an idea which puts the individual human being in the center of that measure of all things. The idea alone was not enough to arouse the most violent doubts and resistances on all sides, and one could almost go as far as to assess the valuableness of the individual in comparison with large numbers is the one belief that meets universal and unanimous asset. So you can kind of see where like Jordan Peterson gets his like sort of worldview. But at the same time, I think that what Jung was talking about, you have to realize, seems like libertarian cringe nowadays. But at the time, there was a real threat of, at the dawn, if you read the beginning of this essay, he talks about this sort of dawning of organized religion in the Western world, and he sort of predicted the New Age movement, which was going to come maybe a decade or so after he wrote this essay. But it's very funny how he points out like there is like, and of course, you know, his infamous essay on America, that there is like a lot of differences in terms of temperamentality and in terms of the cultural, demographic, and political situations between America and Europe that you could even see being reflected nowadays as like Europe gets left behind or is in fear of being left behind, and America takes on a different prerogative. And so I don't know, what do you think about that? I know it's like there is like some libertarian cringe in there, but like,
I mean, there's some truth to it. I mean,
yeah.
I think that there's always been an ongoing concern over what is to come of a region or a population that has been either thoroughly decimated by 2 decades of war and potentially faces, or 2, you know, various large wars that potentially faces a third one right on its doorstep. I mean, that's just I mean, of course, it's going to be a question of like, well, what is to become or what is to happen. That's not going anywhere. And it's the same way that, you know, those discussions happen even now, as like the United States tries to pursue its own policy. Europe isn't really going to go anywhere in that regard either, because it's going to pursue its own wishes and its own policy. Like, and the question of like, well, how do you maintain these old forms of alliances, or where do you go with them? And like, that's a very tough question to ask, because like that is the question of the age, is like, well, what do we do with what do we do with this infrastructure that we've spent God knows how many decades and billions of dollars and also lives investing in? And that's a completely fair thing to ask. And we're going to have to keep returning to these things, because I don't think we have effective answers at all, because we're in a brand new paradigm, but also we've unleashed on ourselves and also not just on ourselves, but also by other forces and powers that be, that don't want us to exist as they once were. Like, in a lot of ways, I think what's happening to Europe with vis-a-vis immigration and things like that is far more cruel, because Europe's character about itself is far different than America's in terms of American identity. And a lot of that has to do with how we responded to waves of European immigration after the 1920s, or before the 1920s versus now. So I don't know, like, there's a lot there to consider. And it's probably I should read more of Jung's work, but I think that the problem that we have for us today is just we're on different paths, and this is a return of the things that a lot of intelligentsia were talking about pre-COVID, which was like the de-globalization was the hot new phrase and term. And it's like, okay, well, if we're moving away from this like highly interconnected world where we're going to be far more focused on spheres of influence or what kind of material can I trade with and what are my trading partners, then yeah, like this is going to be not going away anytime soon in terms of the things that may or may not affect my national sovereignty and security. And at the end of the day, the most important issue of our time, of course, is demographic change, immigration, and the replacement of European peoples. And all things have to keep that. I think it's center point here, because you can't have quote unquote the manpower or the people that you want running things if all of a sudden, you know, they're not your people anymore.
Right. Yeah, and I think like there I think the thing with that essay is that, and I think this is where Peterson gets it wrong, is that there is obviously, from a perspective of psychoanalysis, there's obviously the collective willing or desiring of a people as a mass, and you have to realize in the 1950s and even before, the question of the individual as opposed to, like, there was still the modernist epoch, you know what I mean? There was still the question of individual man versus the greater social gestalt. And that was always the fear of the 20th century. I mean, you talk about this with McLuhan's writing, but it's also reflected in Jung as well. Man being subsumed under a sort of techno-information overextension of oneself into a mass. But as we enter the 21st century, that question turns inward, and now it is man being fragmented upon oneself in a different way. And so I think that in a way there's a yearning for a collective. And so I think like the sort of, I mean, I hate to say it as a Jungian, but like the sort of like, I mean, 20th century psychology in general, psychoanalysis has that problem of still being thoroughly modernistic, where it's like there's these forces of collectivization, there's these forces of unconscious consuming all around you that threatens to consume you as a self-stable system and threatens to rise out of the self. But nowadays it's like the self is from a starting position of being fragmented, and everywhere else is around you is also, like everything else around you is also in a fragmentary and perspectival state. And the looming threat of collectivity is actually, a lot of people would take that over the indeterminacy of a fragmented self that we all live in already. And so it's like that question gets turned inward. And I wonder when, you know, it is a serious critique, I think, of like a lot of psychoanalysis that is written this time. But even in terms of politics, there was a lot of anxiety, and I'm not going to get too specific, but there was a book that a friend of mine gave me recently. It was a collection of commentary magazine articles from the 50s and 60s. And it was actually edited by Norman Potteritz.
That must have been a wild read.
I'm only a few essays into it. It's wild. A lot of it is meaningful and insightful, but it's from like, it's like
it was from a very Jewish perspective, obviously,
but also like if you look at the names, these are like the movers and shakers of mid 20th century culture in America.
Yeah,
and it's a very insightful look into the minds of people that influenced culture and politics and geopolitics for the next decades, going in to where we live nowadays. And there was this one great essay. I of course, like when I was flipping through the table of contents, I immediately read this essay, which was a Clement Greenberg critique on the essay on traditionalism that T.S. Eliot wrote. And I thought it was a pretty good critique. I mean, it's very funny. I read this essay, and it was almost like you could write this essay in 2017 or in 2025 about the difference between like what Clement Greenberg called is like a very shallow charge of like cultural and artistic decline, and how like polemically T.S. Eliot was getting ahead of himself. It's like I could like literally read this in like, you know, Substack blogs or like, you know, OG like, you know, reactionary blogsphere stuff. Like I could read this on WordPress blogs of like people critiquing trads from a different perspective, even though they both agree that culture is declining. It was very, very interesting. Very interesting. So I think like when you do read a lot of these works from the 1950s, specifically, you know, even during the New Age movement in the 60s, it is quite interesting how relevant a lot of these writings still are. And that the decades we live in have actually been set in motion from the mid 20th century onwards. And we're sort of still living in that same moment. Of course, they have, because we live in the internet age, we have different language, we have different terms for different things that they couldn't have predicted, obviously. But a lot of it comes pretty damn similar. And so, very interesting that way. But yeah, definitely, I think Jung is getting at something that a lot of writers on the left and right have talked about when it came to the truly American moment breaking off of Europe culturally and you know, in terms of even on a deeper spiritual level, and the unique demographic and cultural situations that America faces. So I read that essay by Jung and I'm like, oh my God, that does make a lot of sense. You know, and he was writing this right before the New Age movement. So, you know, yeah.
It is particular. I'd have to go. I guess I'll have to go read some of these.
Oh, the old yeah.
I'm kind of interested now to go read through those. I mean, that sounds really interesting. I really now want to read them. Because I mean, again, like it's funny because I've read like several years ago, Ryan Turnipseed and we read an old essay on like definitions of conservatism by neoconservatives, and it was sort of enlightening to see the direction in which that rhetoric was going, and how these things later just became passed off as like just nice little political orthodoxies that no one ever questions anymore, despite the fact that you could offer, I think, a very good critique of these issues. Which again, sort of par for the course of how things are. It's just sort of where we're at. It's kind of interesting.
You know what's funny is that it's funny how what's his kid's name? John Podhoretz?
Yeah, John Podhoretz.
Have you ever read some of the essays of Norman?
I have not read John's. I've read a lot of Norman essays.
No, I mean John's is totally like he's irrelevant. He's a nobody.
Well, I mean, he worked in the Bush administration. Not
yeah.
I don't know which Bush. I think it was the Bush Jr.
I think he worked a bit in Bush, like Herbert Walker as well. I think.
Okay, well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but now he's a libtard, like kind of like George Bush himself.
Well, yeah, they're all never Trumpers.
Yeah, no, but what's funny is that he is such a
lib. But like he did, I think he literally came back to Twitter. Like he quit Twitter, I think, sometime during the Trump years, and did not come back until October 7th. Like he literally did not log back on until that event took place.
I'm a libtard. I'm with the political left in everything but this one huge issue. No, but it's funny how he's such a lib, because if you ever read his mother's writings, Midge Decker. Have you ever read this?
No, I haven't.
His mother, actually, Norman Podhoretz's wife, was actually quite a brilliant writer. She wrote this. You should read this essay. It's called, it's in commentary. Have you ever heard of The Boys on the Beach?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God. This is like, so Midge Decker, she wrote this essay called The Boys on the Beach, which was about the initial rights movement of a certain persuasion of men, if you know what I mean.
The first gay rights movement.
Yeah. And that was the one that got like Gore Vidal like so pissed off at like these people.
Yeah, because she was calling him out, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah. No, but it's very funny because like even at those days, like the neocons, were still ensconced in a level of social conservatism that, I mean, some people, like some certain people in the political right would say like that was part of the op, but like it's very funny how like they were ensconced in this like social conservatism that like you would never get away with writing nowadays unless, you know, maybe if you were like writing on Substack. But no, I just found it very funny. There was this whole war between her and Gore Vidal, but it's funny how like her kid is more in line with Gore Vidal, and you know, even though he worked for the Bush administration. Yeah, her name was Midge Vulpes. Her actual name was Midge. Kind of like, you know, Mo Sizlak. He can like never remember Marge's name, so he calls her Midge. That's a Simpsonsism right there.
Well, it's
Midge.
also just a product of names.
Yeah.
Of that time.
Anyways,
was she herself also like completely was she herself actually like fully Jewish, or was she just like
No, I think she was, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I just didn't know. I haven't read any of her work.
No, she was actually a great writer. She was a great writer. Like she was and a journalist.
I'm definitely gonna have to give that, at least that essay, a read. That would be particularly an interesting one.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to read all of these things that your friend gave you. That's fascinating to me. It's a piece of like culture and a piece of media that I don't think, you know, I think we don't allow ourselves to perhaps look back in time to see what culture looked like.
Yeah.
Not just to say like obviously like the American Jewish experience, but I mean just like I don't think anyone picks up a copy of the Saturday Evening Post, you know, to like what were people bitching about 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of it is very similar to what we bitch about nowadays, albeit perhaps different.
Well, she also labeled Russell Kirk an anti-them. So
well, of course she labeled Russell Kirk an anti-Semite. He had joked, you know, about Tel Aviv and American Jewish relations in that regard.
Following
and Russell Kirk is by no means. A lot of people would poo-poo on him for a lot of his takes these days, but like, that is what got Russell Kirk canceled.
Yeah, she was together with Donald Rumsfeld. Decter was co-chair of the Committee for the Free World, an anti-communist organization. She was one of the original champions of neoconservative movement with her spouse Norman Podhoretz. Founded the Independent Women's Forum, which I believe was involved with Women of Buckley, or like he had a lot of guests from them. That does sound kind of ominous, though. A Committee for a Free World, although I think like that was more of the you know, sanitized and normie friendly version of the Anti-Communist League.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, there was like a political spectrum of nobody, see, only like real schizos on Substack talk about this, like Thomas.
Well, because Substack is the last platform we have that where anyone does deep dives on fucking anything. I mean, no one's gonna talk about, you know, Norman Podhoretz's wife outside of, you know, either like really obscure researchers into like Cold War polemics or I guess like really well researched anti-Semites. Like I don't know who's gonna be particularly into that, because I mean no one really cares what people were writing 60, 50 years ago. It's very interesting. We tell ourselves all the time, well, we should read all these old things.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we don't read the people who were the movers and the shakers of the world, so to speak. Even though we probably should.
No, a lot of this stuff is very interesting, the commentary magazine stuff. No, but what I mean is like there was a huge political spectrum in America of anti-communism on the left and the political right that I think like totally gets overshadowed because people think it's an irrelevancy after the Cold War. But it's not. I mean, that political spectrum was such a foundation of political discourse even long after the wall fell. And, you know, I think like even with the Ukraine war, you can even see this. And so there was like a lot of very interesting cultural and political writing that was going on in this time. And maybe next week or so, or maybe a few week
Yeah,
after.
once we get our sea legs back, we can
We'll
look
dig
into
up
some of these
something.
things.
Do you
Because
want to do the
I
black?
think it's all worthwhile to read because like the infrastructure of the Cold War, fighting the Cold War never went away. It just got reutilized and repurposed, whether it be in Iraq and Afghanistan or
in China,
or against the Chinese, but also just the question of our Mideast policy, or what's happening in Ukraine, or what's happening in any of these places. Because let's face it, they're not really going anywhere.
Right. I don't know. Next week we should do the Black Hawk Down episode.
That'll give me enough time to rewatch it. I mean, that would be incredibly relevant, all things considered.
I wanted the title to be Black Hawk Down in the New American Century. Does that sound like a banger, or you would have a different title?
I would have just said Big Trouble in Little Mogadishu.
No, go with that one. That's a good one.
Because then you can just talk about Minneapolis as well. I've been wanting to tweet that out for like a week now, and I'm like, I haven't done it. I really should.
Did your Friday post blow up?
I don't think so. I haven't really been tweeting a lot over the holidays, so I haven't had.
Man.
The algo has not been kind to me, and also the algo changed. I'm not very happy with what Twitter has decided to do, where it's just like, we have a following tab, but now we have a following tab for recent and following tab that's popular. I don't want to see friends bangers. I want to see what is happening on my timeline according to what has been posted in chronological order. And apparently, I'm a bad guy for wanting that. Heaven forbid. I want my timeline to reflect a chronological order of shit that went down. And no, apparently we're not doing that anymore. It's very frustrating, very annoying, not cool. What can I say? I can't ever get what I want, and that's fine.
It's funny how when you have a viral tweet that like all your other tweets just don't matter.
Oh
like,
yeah.
It's not like people even migrate towards like like towards your other content. It's like, no, you have like one viral.
Oh no, it never migrates to your other content.
Yeah.
If anything, it will deliberately never go to your other content. It's just that one tweet.
Yeah.
And then you have to like briefly like point out in the replies like, hey, I do this other thing that I'm not, known for, which is my main thing, because you're all too focused on the popular thing, which is my tweet. So yeah, it's annoying. When I do have a tweet that blows up, like I always like anytime that a tweet gets more attention than I want it to, I will just mute it. And then I'll like look back on my like main page like 5 hours later, and I'm like, oh no, this is why I've been getting more notifications than usual. So no, I mean it's Twitter, it's fine. I don't really go on there much I go on there for group chats. I really don't go on there to do anything else, and they've still can't get their best feature to be fixed.
I highly recommend you all go and subscribe to me on Substack or Telegram or Instagram. I think like
there are better things to do there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's easier to communicate there directly, I think.
Yeah, it is. And also I think like the algorithm is a bit more democratic. So yeah, like I do notice that, like, I mean, the Substack notes doesn't get you a lot, but like when you do post things in like the main, it is sort of more or less democratic. But on Twitter, I mean, it's like, who knows what's gonna happen.
It's fickle, and also it's like
the YouTube algo.
Yeah, although I think the YouTube algo is still easier to game. And it's also my fault for not gaming it, because I know I could be doing SEO stuff way better than what I'm already doing. And I need to be better about that. I don't know how to do the YouTube game very well. I'm just happy to have the audience that I do.
Yeah.
Although, like, Ben asked me when we recorded, I think it was New Year's. Yeah, we recorded on January 1st, recorded on New Year's Day. And he was just like, so what are your plans as like a content creator in 26? And I'm like, man, I don't even know how I got here. Don't ask me that question. I don't have a plan. I just got here. I don't know. And then I asked my audience in a community post, And I asked, I was just like, oh, you know, like, what do you want me to, what would you like to see in 2026? And there's like the ratio between like good answers and sort of shit posts was like 80-20. And I'm like, God bless. This is why everyone's like, just hate your audience. That's the key to success.
Yeah, that really is. Like, people are professional haters of their audience. I experienced a little bit at the beginning of this stream, actually. I felt good. I felt like
I felt the hate.
I could feel the hate rise up in me. It's like, you know,
I have nothing but contempt for you, pay piggies.
Because the twins are very stupid. All they want is the beast and the red pilled and the laser eyes and the key jangling and the Hyperborean edit. You know, nothing in life.
I had gotten that as a reply today because I did post the Friday night video as I always do, and someone was like, "How come there's no Sonnenrad spinning in this?" And I'm like, "Sir, do you know who I am?
Oh my god!
I have shown my face in public. I can't do that anymore."
Oh my god!
Although, for the record, I have never made a Sonnenrad edit in my life. I don't have those skills. That's not true. That's not true. I know how to do it. Doesn't mean I'm going to.
Giant cheer respecters on the edge. Yeah. I was on that War Report episode at the end of the year wrap, and like I could see like Pac-Man Respecter was having an existential crisis as a GeoCell in the comments. It was very funny.
These are good problems to have.
No, Pac-Man. Okay, Constantine is American, and I mean, Goran, he's GSP. He's also Canadian, but I mean, he's from Macedonia, but he's Canadian. So I guess we had one American. We had American representation, which I guess we were doing. You know, we were
Okay, if his actual name is Constantine, I have to ask.
It's not his real name. It's not his real name.
Okay.
He is of Eastern European extraction, though. He is Eastern European.
Oh, okay. So a Slav.
Yeah. I think he's half Slav, half heritage.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Constantine. Yeah, from War Report. I believe he is half.
Because the only people I know who are named Constantine are either Eastern European immigrants to the country or white ethnic converts to Orthodoxy. So I'm like, okay, what's it gonna be?
Oh man, the Slavic hand reveals itself. That's like people said Gabe was a Slavic version of me.
He's Balkan, and he is a Slavic. He is a Balkan version of you. I know what he looks like. He is literally you.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, so no, I felt that little taste of like of audience hate. It was quite fun. But let's round it off before we go to super chats. What were some of the things you did last year, you read last year that were memorable? I thought 2025 was a down year for me. I'm not going to lie, for a variety of personal things. My latest painting video, I talked a little bit about it, but
I think 2025 was pretty okay for me in the sense that I did not expect Do You Even Read to be as popular as it got, and I'm very happy about that. I didn't expect that to blow up the way that it did in terms of views, but I'm glad that it has. It's been a blessing, and I'm always happy about that. I don't know what I'm doing. And also, I think that for me, 2025 online was, it was good. As always, I live more in real life than I do on the internet. So, I mean, I got engaged last year. I get married next month. My life is going to radically change in that regard. And I mean, I'm still going to be doing this. I kind of want to transition to writing more, and that's really all that I want to do more in the future. I mean, I like the live shows. They're fun. It's nice to interact with chat. It's nice to do the usual things that I do. My schedule will probably have some big bumps. I kind of want to take February off, which is why I kind of went as hard in the paint as possible in December for recording things and getting my guest appearance stuff out of the way. But I don't know. I mean, there's just it was a good year for me. I really can't complain. but I don't know. I've had this feeling of being stuck more than anything, which has been really frustrating.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's like I don't want to be resentful because I've been given a lot of things to be thankful for, but at the same time, I have all these positive things going for me, and then at the same time, I'm like, man, I feel incredibly stuck where I'm at, and I feel like I'm hitting a wall over and over and over again. And that's why I asked like my audience. I was like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you want to see? And I didn't really get answers that felt very productive. And I'm like, well, that's not very helpful for me. So I'm left trying to figure it out for myself, which is fine. I'm kind of used to doing that on here. I don't have an editor. I don't have anyone I send videos or essay ideas off to edit and look at. I just have myself. And that seems to be, that will continue to be the case, I think, going forward for quite some time. So I'm not really surprised there on that end by any way, shape, or form. I just need to, I don't know. I guess it's that, the 5 more minutes meme, like, oh, just 5 more minutes in bed, 5 more minutes in bed, 5 more minutes in bed. And then you wake up and it's like 10 o'clock and you're like, fuck. That's literally me right now. Cause it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I need to figure out what I'm doing. And then I'm just the guy going through his entire day. Like, I need to figure out what I'm doing. And I haven't figured it out yet. I wish I could. I wish I knew.
Me doubly so. I think like 2025 was the year of trying to find something different and being frustrated at certain certain projects not going the way I wanted it to, or other things of that nature. So
how's the book coming along?
Well, I think Matthew said like most of it's already done. So I just have to like re-edit things and like make sure it's more relevant. And so we'll see what happens. That's the book definitely was one thing. I could name a few other things, but so hopefully this year, 2026. Also, I think like there was a bit of an algorithm hit in terms of viewership, but hopefully like 2026, I can cement what I've been doing. So, yeah. But anyways, I don't know what's going to happen this year. I mean, it seems like every week there's something, but then again, like I think
we've done that every week.
Yeah. Like maybe like we're sort of, maybe like reifying it too much. I mean, there are things I remember in like for example, the Iran thing. Like, I mean, the Iran thing could kick off again, but it was something that there was like,
it was very blink and you'll miss it.
Exactly. There was so much intense debate over it, but then it's like, not to say that nothing ever happens, but it seems even like the Maduro thing, like people have forgotten.
And, well, I mean, it's still a major thing, and then the administration already met with some oil executive / leadership over what the hell to do about claims of Venezuela. And, we've allegedly we had taken like a Russian oil tanker, or we had boarded it and talked about like seizing American crude. So, I mean, I don't know, like there's a lot there that still needs to actually be discussed because we writ large have not discussed it. And so only time will tell about what's going to come next. And I think that, we're going to have to answer that question sooner rather than later. It is very interesting how quickly things move. And again, it's big national news. And it's like, well, Venezuela's still happening. And technically so is Iran. And so is Gaza. And so is, the attempts at deportation. And now like more ICE agents are going to be hired, or they're going to be doing X, Y, and Z because their budget's larger than the U.S. Marine Corps. Like there's a million different things that are happening at once that, of course, can easily just drive a person up a wall. Yeah. Because like now all of a sudden, you've got the very real thing about, well, what does this now all mean for people like you and I, or the average American? And it's like, well, it depends. And like, if you're not a person who is, like a Twitterati kind of type deal, like some of this probably doesn't matter at all,
Right. Yeah.
And that's just sort of becomes the fun thing to figure out, like, well, how much of this actually matters at all, And I think that's going to be the big debate about anything is what are you going to dedicate your time to? And
exactly.
I think that overall is always the question. And I mean, we often joke and say that we're on Twitter so you don't have to be, but also like sometimes it has negative consequences, you know, like maybe I don't need to be on there 24/7. I mean, I'm not. I take the weekends off as much as humanly possible, but at the same time, it's just like, what are we doing with this nonsense? And I get why, because everyone's got their own game to play. Everyone's everyone's in a gang, you know.
Well, hopefully, like in 2026, we can transition maybe more away from that towards other things.
I would like that
on the show.
immensely. I think that would be good for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I think like hopefully the audience respects.
There is no
that.
shareholders meeting. The shareholders are the audience and the paid subscribers, so they're the ones that are going to have to really start being vocal about whatever it is that they want to see.
That's a good point. That's a good point. At the beginning of the first DA stream of 2026, if you wanted to like send us supers or even comments, like what would you want to see more of? I know like you're gonna resent it a little bit because I guarantee you some people like we want to see more anime reviews.
Oh, well, like, they're gonna have to fucking pay for them.
You're gonna have to fucking pay us a lot of money if you want to like do like what was the example? Someone was a
Code Chaos is the one that they want to do next. Although I will say this,
One Piece,
the gentleman, I will say this, the gentleman who paid for the Steins Gate review, he DM'd me earlier and he said having your extra well-versed weeb friend on for the second episode was a nice touch. So he was a happy camper with it. So that's really all that matters is keeping the people who give us money happy.
No, but isn't like One Piece? Don't they have like 1,000 episodes?
Yeah, that ain't happening.
That's not happening.
Someone asked me what that was, and I was thinking to myself, what? I said, what do I make in a year at my day job? And then I'm like, okay, give me that.
You have to sit down and watch all 1,000.
If my white ass is going to sit down and watch all of that, then yeah, I'm gonna want a wage because you're basically asking me now to do something for a full-time review, and
yeah, that's only fair. I feel, yeah,
but no one is gonna be crazy enough to.
Could you imagine though
to do that?
I'd be like we become like the One Piece show.
Oh God,
there's like One Piece podcasts.
Oh, I know. There's retrospective podcasts on everything. I really want to go back and finish the fucking Venture Brothers stuff I was doing with my friends. One of these days.
I mean, like Satan Tango review.
You know, didn't Bellatar just die?
Yes. Oh, that's right. R.I.P. to a legend, Bellatar. R.I.P. to a legend. Bellatar is one of my favorites. But I have watched all 7 hours of Satan Tango. So if you wanted to pay me to review Satan Tango, I'd be down for that. So a DA retrospective. We've had too much content to do that. That'd be.
I mean, that's not that's not an impossible ask.
No.
It would. It's just. Yeah, that's not an impossible ask.
Is One Piece good? I've never watched One Piece.
I have never watched One Piece either, so I don't have a negative or positive opinion about One Piece.
I'm sure there are One Piece podcasts. There's got to be. So
you just know that there's like a black couple that is reviewed every episode of One Piece.
No, that would be content. That would be content.
It's the Quan Mills of podcasting.
Oh my God!
I still can't get over the fact that he's like a real person.
There's always like that one black guy that kind of looks like Too Mad. You know that guy that died, the streamer Too Mad?
No, I don't know who that is.
He's like the nerdy black guy with glasses. There's always like one of those when you go into the bookstore. And there's like if there's
the oddly metrosexual looking black guy.
That's great though. That's great. Like they're like FBAs that have learned Korean because of K-pop. Did you know this?
Yes.
I remember there was this one Hotep woman that used to come and break the rules, and her kid was actually learning Korean because of K-pop. I was like, and of course, like me and Lev were like, really? Like, oh man, that's crazy.
That's a commitment.
That is a commitment. But anyways.
But like, how many people have studied Latin just because they saw something, cool, like a medieval, like I'm terrible at this. Like I just listened to a bardcore edit of Heartaches by the Number, and I was like, I bet
Oh
you this
man.
slaps in Latin. And then someone did Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and they sung it in Latin. And I was like, well, damn, this is cool. It makes me regret not studying Latin after college.
Oh man. That's like Latin's really big in Brazil. Like all the rich people, they like
They
pay a
study
lot
it.
of they
Well,
pay
good for them.
tutors. Yeah. Like they pay tutors to like teach their kids Latin. But like they have their own relationship to Latin, like the Portuguese. So anyways, so yeah, if you like definitely like whatever you guys want to see more of, that'd be, we're open to suggestion. But we have a lot of super chats to cover, and I know that everyone's chomping.
That's wild.
Yeah, the Medicare stream. But yeah, we have a lot of super chats, and so I guess our first stream back.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I mean, we did have the Birdmas one out to satiate you people.
That was great.
That was a fun one. I hope you all enjoyed the video game footage of my terrible time playing Elden Ring for the first time in a long time. So, yeah, I might do that more. I might just start recording video game footage to have in the background for videos. That way I don't have to...
real old school 2016 Kino.
Yeah, just so I don't have to, like, actually record shit.
Yeah.
You're
playing video games anyways.
That is true. I might as well record them. I've been playing Dark Tide with Capitalissimo lately. It's not it's like a much more... It's Left 4 Dead, but a little more... I mean, it's obviously 40K themed. It's just it's different. I'm not used to it. Yeah,
that was my thing. Like, if I'm gonna go and paint, I might as well just record it.
Yeah,
well, it's like me, So, isn't there like a 40? There's like a few 40K games, aren't there?
There are dozens of 40K games.
Like, I mean, video games though.
Yeah, there are dozens.
Really?
Of 40K games. Yeah, there's like Bolt Gun, there's Battlefleet Gothic, there's Vermintide, there's Dark Tide, there's Space Marine 2. There are countless others, I'm sure, that are
oh man,
that I don't know off the top of my head. I'm a terrible right winger in the sense that I don't know 40K all that well in terms of lore. But that's fine. I'm not. I'm gonna
have to ask my friend Paz from Timeline Earth.
Yeah, that'd be a good 40K. Time to get Dexter on and just start doing it that way.
Yeah. Well, we did it. We did a 40K episode together because someone wanted me to review it.
The Hell's Reek video. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. There's a whole I remember my friend Remus who used to come on BTR. He was like really. There are 100 Warhammer games.
That doesn't surprise me.
Oh my god.
I own Bolt Gun, Dark Tide, and Battlefleet Gothic because I love space games.
But are they mostly PC or are there some other Americans?
Oh, they're mostly PC.
Yeah. Wow, 100 Warhammer games. That's crazy.
Warhammer has more video games than Star Wars does. Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of video game franchise like apparently Call of Duty still exists.
Yep, and you know exactly who it's for nowadays. It ain't the guy saying the N-word in 2009 over MW2 lobbies. It's the guys they would have called the N-word playing it now. Nicki Minaj is a playable skin.
Nicki Minaj is a skin in Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Nicki Minaj, your based red-pilled queen. It's so fun. Like, do you remember... I know this is like total slop and it's beyond mentioning, but like
we're already here.
Nicki Minaj, yeah, we're already here. Nicki Minaj going to AM Fest and like TP USA. Do you remember those old Mark Dice videos where like he said like Nicki Minaj is like the satanic priestess of the New World Order? Like her name is Minaj à Trois.
Is he wrong?
Is he wrong? Because like Nicki Minaj.
I've got questions.
Does anyone remember she had an alternate personality she would invoke in her stage performance? That was called like, what was it called? Like Little Jimmy, like something like that. Like she had like an alternative personality, like a split personality in her head that she would invoke in her music. And that's why Mark Dice would be like, she's a queen priestess of the Illuminati. And like her name is Menage, like Menage a Trois. And like she's he would always use the phrase, she's a satanic slut. Like it was like, and now she's
Okay,
like,
that line goes so hard. She's a satanic slut. That goes so hard. I'm using that from now on.
And now she's like,
no thoughts, no foids, just satanic sluts.
And now she's like on TV.
Now she's now apparently she's now born again, and is speaking out to the slaughter of Nigerians.
Oh my god!
I guess which are her countrymen.
Yeah. Oh my god!
It's just a wild time to be alive.
She went more of a normie, conservative-friendly version of like the Tila Tequila arc. People remember this?
Yes, except well, didn't like Tila Tequila just become like a weird, alt-right kind of like, basically turned into a Nazi for like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
is what I remember of her.
Oh man, yeah, she was everywhere in like the early to mid 2000s.
I think she's kept a low profile since then.
Yeah, of course. No, but it's just so funny how like Nicki Minaj was like so like denigrated by like New World Order conspiracy theory types, like, but now like she's like
back in my day we were all concerned that what's her name had a cock. Lady Gaga.
Oh yeah, the Mark Dice, he'd have all these nicknames. He would call her Lady Caca. And like, he had like a few of them. He would like Katy Perry, Katy Scary. Like he had this like, you have to realize this was like pre-2016 YouTube conspiracy theory content. Like Mark Dice was like the king of this. And he was like so up there, he actually went to war with Alex Jones. But then he realized like he wasn't as popular as Alex Jones. And so he like quashed the beef. He used to call them info whores. Like nobody remembers this. Nobody remembers this. But like those videos had like millions of views where he would call them like Katy Scary, Lady Caca. Well, Katy Scary is with Justin Trudeau now. Did you see that photo?
I did see the photo. Yeah. What a generational run.
Yeah. Destroys Canada and then ends up with Katy Perry. That's like, you can't ask for better.
You really can't ask for more. Does blackface, dates Katy Perry.
Yeah. Was a ski teacher. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, exactly, Frasier. Then like, do you remember when like Rush Limbaugh, he'd do like the really obnoxious Barack Hussein Obama? Like it would be
yeah, but he wasn't wrong.
It wasn't wrong.
Rush had better political instincts than like 99% of right-wing Twitter.
Yeah.
And I will stand by that take forever.
Yeah. Oh, especially his show in the 90s, the TV show.
Oh yeah. Without I mean, unironically though, it's kind of sad because like Rush Limbaugh is the reason why like people like John Leibowitz have jobs, because he pioneered the method.
From Rush Limbaugh to cat turd, what a downgrade.
So true.
So true. Yeah.
We deserve a better class of boomer. I don't care what any of you bastards say.
Oh man. That was great though. Yeah, but Mark Dice used to be the great man. Like it was so funny seeing Nicki Minaj there. It was so funny. Like it wasn't on the level of Ye, but like it was.
You gone from the level of it's. Remember when we had a white porn star being invited to TPUSA, and I totally shut it out in a video essay like 5 years ago.
Was it the Brandy Love thing?
Yeah, it was. I became
a
total fucking. I turned into like the most bitter chud on God's green earth over that invitation. And people were like, you took the bait a little too hard. And I'm like, I really don't give a shit. I was angry. I wanted to make a video. And you watched it anyway. And you're commenting.
Yeah.
Thanks for the algo boost, fuckers.
Well, no, Mia Khalifa is like the leftist equivalent. She's like the free.
Yeah, she was in the running for Anti-Semite of the Year a couple of years back.
Mia Khalifa. Oh my god. Oh, what is political?
She's
What
taking
is
more headshots than a Palestinian child. Like, of course.
Oh, that's no. I disavow that, Joey. I disavow. But oh my god. No, yeah, we need a video compilation. Prude's 10 biggest crash outs. That's a very good. I mean, I have a few crash outs myself, but
Oh, the number one crash out's going to be what almost killed DA like 6 months ago.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Kanye, bro, that she's not even in the top 10. My Twitter mutuals are in the top 10. Oh my god.
Hey man, take it up with the ADL. I don't get to nominate.
I feel like in some ways it is kind of like
Who won this year? It was Tucker, right?
I think it was Tucker. Yeah. No, was it Nick? Well, Nick Fuentes was last year.
Or did they give it to Candace?
They gave it to Candace. I think they gave it to Candace.
Oh, another black woman stealing a white man's, reward.
Oh my god. No, but like it's funny how there's almost like a return to like mid 2000s celebrity culture. But like
because we don't have any new celebrities.
Yeah, but mainstream celebrities, they realized the way that you return to the glory days of people talking about celebrities is by venturing into political hot takes.
Well, yeah.
That's how they did it. That's how they do it.
Remember Tibet?
Yeah. No, but like that was different because in a way, like Sean Penn and like Richard Gere with the Tibet thing, that was like the
Isn't
level
Brad
of like
Pitt still banned from like going to China?
I think Brad Pitt's banned from going to China. Then you have like China shills like John Cena. Do you remember that video?
Yeah.
Like he's
got to apologize.
Yeah, he apologized in like fluent Cantonese. So no, but it's funny because that was like the activist thing, and like a lot of celebrities still do that. Like I think Sean Penn say he was going to protest ICE or whatever? Of course, right? But it seems
he's been big on the Ukraine thing for the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, that's right. You know what's funny? There's like a political spectrum of like Ukrainian activism. Like there's like Douglas P. Death in June on one side, and there's like Sean Penn, and they like both support Ukraine. But no, it's funny. Like there's the activism thing, and there's like the going to the meeting in the UN and going on a mission to like Africa or somewhere in Ukraine or whatever. But then there's like the celebrity, the sort of like silver bullet of a celebrity achieving cultural relevance again is to not do the activism thing so much as to like go into like the slop take economy. Like there's a difference there.
Well, this is how you become Piers Morgan, but yeah.
Yeah. Like Nicki Minaj, instead of like doing the whole like I'm supporting a cause, she goes, well, I guess it is supporting a cause, but it's like I'm going to go to like the TPUSA event and be like the left me, and then on the left you have like I don't know, like Mia
Did she
Khalifa.
even give a speech?
Yes, I think Erica Kirk had to like coach her through a speech.
Okay,
but like, then you have like on the left you have like Mia Khalifa going on. Didn't she like go on Trapo Trap House or something like that?
I think she was also on the Young Turks at one point.
Yeah. I know Rosario Dawson went on the Young Turks once.
Well, she was dating Cory Booker for a while, and then Cory Booker and then broke up, and then Cory found another woman to be his beard.
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations, Donald Trump. You've made 2 down low brothers straight. That is an impressive achievement.
Justin Trudeau.
Well, he's not black. Well, I mean, he's kind of.
Oh black. Yeah. Well, I mean, but are the Cubans really? They're Hispanic, aren't they?
There's something.
Yeah. I mean, so, I don't know, man. That's so crazy. Like Justin Trudeau got his way. Like he left quietly into this good night by dating Katy Perry. It's just, that's crazy. But anyways, let's get to the super chats.
Yeah, there's a lot tonight.
Cory Booker actually dated.
Yeah, they dated while he was running for president in the Dem primary.
Oh my god!
Anyways, I thought this was known.
Oh yeah. Well, what's Rosario? She sort of fell off. Like, what is she in anything now?
She's in that Star Wars show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I haven't heard.
She's in a Star Wars TV show, if memory serves.
Yeah.
I don't have any streaming services, so I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
You have Tubi, your beloved.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Roman Polanski. Yeah, Nicki Minaj's alter ego was Roman Polanski, but she played the name differently. It was like Roman Lansky or something like that.
Dear God.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, give a quick promo. I'm just gonna go run and get something to drink.
Oh,
So,
well,
yeah.
damn. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, the Digital Archipelago is brought to you by viewers like you. Your ongoing financial support and contributions to the show allow this thing to keep on going. A test of my sanity and a test of our ability to stay relevant on the timeline. So by just giving money either via subscribestar.com/the Prudentialist or patreon.com/giantartproductions, you too can support the show in any which way you do, wish, or want. For film and book reviews, they are $100 each, either for Gio or myself to review them based upon your liking and what you want us to see. Anything longer than that, fees are negotiable. But with that being said, I think Gio is finally back in the studio, and we can now continue with the super chats.
All right, so let me take a quick, Ghost from Cheer Capitalist Radio. More beer, engineer. I don't drink beer, but I thought it was funny.
You don't drink beer? You're not a beer guy, or are you just not an alcohol person?
I'm not. If everyone else, I will if other people are, I guess I'll if it's offered to me, I'll drink a beer. But no, I'm not an alcohol guy in general. But Ghost had that thing where he's like, more beer, engineer. Gio's trying to be a good Catholic. Have you met any real Catholics? Catholicism and alcoholism go way back. Okay,
this is true.
This is true. So let's go to the entropy first. I'll go from lowest to highest. So we have our good friend who actually followed me on Twitter. I forced him to. Not forced him to. I mentioned it on stream once. Our good friend Melon for $3. Thank you, Melon. Do you think Grok undressing will result in a new no girls on the internet rule? Tits or GTFO used to be the way boundaries.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is sort of a reinvention of that. It won't force women off the internet. I think it will make people a little more self-conscious about what they post.
Yeah, true.
I think it will kind of, as a friend of ours like say, it will enforce sort of a digital purdah in a lot of way. But so much of that remains to be seen.
I think I go with the Kathrine Dee sort of analysis that a lot of social media at the dawn of the smartphone was more tailor-made to the sensibility of the feminine rather than the masculine, which was what the internet originally started off in. So it's the sort of no girls in the internet thing hasn't been a reality for a very long time, because
and it really won't come back, because let's be honest, who are the bigger spenders, men or women? And it's women,
right?
Social media will cater to female needs before it caters to this whole no men thing. If you create a male only space, good luck, because as we know, they'll come into it, or it'll be called out for bigotry or whatever.
Well, I think I could be wrong, but there are some inklings that forum culture may come back. People,
I wouldn't be surprised. I think, there are forums and certain sites that I like to visit that aren't mainstream. They are very niche, but at the same time, they are, I think, a very viable escape from what has been mainstream social media. And so, I think a lot of people want to go back to forum culture because it was less. It was the one place that you still had some kind of autonomy, or a place where you didn't have to worry about, you lived or died based off of your information and your content, which doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. But anyway, so a lot of people were very generous tonight, our first stream. So I thank you. I very greatly appreciate you all. So then we have 2 from Theo Bucks to Chardon.
That's such a great name.
Such a great name, yeah. For $5, the chud sadism thing to me reads like winning equals R-worded versions of your ideas, just like repealing the 20th century means tolerating unironic painter fans. The path away from extinction must go through sadism. At some point, it's just fallen human nature. I don't know. I question that take. I deeply, severely question that take. But I understand where it's coming from, though. But what do you think, Prude?
Yeah, I mean there is the consequences of a lot of your ideas being bastardized and being for every person who might be on your side, you also have to deal with the consequences that there are going to be individuals who don't agree or don't want to take your position as seriously as you do, and that of course comes with the consequence of people who are like for every person I find to be like a pretty good like policy guy who actually has solutions, there's a million others who are just like, actually I really just hate you and I'm not going to offer anything up other than that. I mean,
Yeah.
this just kind of boils down to like, oh, there are problems with like a democratic internet and how takes flow. Say it ain't so.
Right.
But also like
encouraging
power,
it, I think
power has to be wielded.
Right,
if there's
right.
going to be any actual meaningful.
Well, this is follow-up post for $5. Personally, in a sense, I would wish that the ice thing was more showy, like showy enough that people anticipate so much intensity you kind of have to get serious. But that's a fantasy because you can disappoint the right forever. Bukele was pretty spectacular. Well, I think there's marked differences because
Bukele also did things.
Well, Bukele did things, but he did them in one fell swoop. I think that's the difference.
No, it took a long time.
Well,
it wasn't one, like there was a lot of effort that went into it. I mean,
right,
Ben Braddock's write up of how like what Bukele did in order to get to where he does a pretty good job explaining this. This was not like a overnight sensation.
No, but what I mean is, like, of course, like the media structure is quite different. It's a smaller country. It's a more or less a homogeneous country. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of vastly complicated things that are in like the North.
Yeah,
American
very apples to
experience.
oranges stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I understand where that sentiment's coming from. Like you can there are other nations like that have done these things like throughout human history, really, if you want to look at it. Like every empire has always rearranged the population either through force or through bartering or through like even the Romans did this. The Ottomans, although the Ottomans, that's kind of a bad example because a lot of like the Ottomans near the end had a lot of intense demographic pressures as well. I think it's another thing that GSP mentioned on the War Report stream. But thank you. Anyways, thank you, Theo Bucks Deschard. So here we have Bellio Bradley, our good friend, for $15. What kind of question is this? Which non-Caucasian albinos look mostly white? Probably the South Asian Indians, although albino Somalis are a bit unsettling. I don't know.
This is not something I think about.
This is like a Hakan Rotweir question.
Yeah, this is.
I've never seen an Afghani albino, although a lot of them look white anyways.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. That's a question that I've never been asked before until that's a sentence I don't know that has ever existed until right now.
There is that one
I think
Finnish
you just
streamer.
made up a new sentence in the English language. Congratulations.
Yeah. There is that one Finnish streamer who was albino. He has that clip. He's like, I am not Asian. I am white.
I don't blame him for feeling that way as a Finn.
That was funny, though. I know that clip used to get passed around a lot, but Bactrian Greek albino? What the hell are you people? Look at the comments. Central Asians are already white. A lot of Afghanis look white anyways. Possibly Gio's most Italian take. Yeah. Oh my god. That could be a Twitter handle. Central Asian albino groiper.
Or just Central Asian albino would have been.
That would have been good.
Would have been good enough.
Yeah. But thank
you.
You
don't have to add a
Bradley.
groiper to everything to make the account funny.
I know I do that too much. I know it's true. But anyways, thank you, Bellio Bradley, for the very interesting, provocative question. I think this is interesting. I think this next question, I think Jay Burton has read a lot of Gene Wolfe. Our good friend Charlie Mackey for $25. Thank you, Charlie Mackey. As always, good friend of the show, good supporter. Good evening. I hope you're both well. How much for a review of the new Sun trilogy from Gene Wolfe on DA? Any thoughts about the depiction of the post-apocalypse or maybe the post-apocalyptic in fiction? Well, I did 3 hours on Canonical for Leibowitz, and I did that video about The Walking Dead. So,
oh man, I could talk about like post-apocalyptic fiction for hours.
Forever.
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't know. I'd have to look at how long the books are and then get back to you before I can give you an answer. I'm not opposed to it. I haven't read a lot of fiction outside of what my my friends publish, so it would be good to go read actually good. Not saying that my friends aren't good writers. I'm simply saying it would be good to review something from a well-established and well-reviewed sci-fi writer. So I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
I think Burden has read a lot of Gene Wolfe. I know Land.
Yeah, I think Burden has read a lot of Gene Wolfe. So has Dave Green. But how busy those two are is a whole other question.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I read over the break? Because my girlfriend gave it to me. Have you ever read? I think I mentioned the show. You ever read any Philip Roth?
Yes. I read American Pastoral explicitly under the recommendation of T.R. Hudson. Have
you ever read Nemesis?
No, I have not.
That book, it's about the polio epidemic in the 40s during the war, and that book, like, my girlfriend almost felt sad, like she felt bad because it totally re-traumatized me during the Clownvid thing. It was like such an incredible analog to it. And I think he wrote the book in 2010, of course, was Philip Roth's experience of the polio epidemic as a kid growing up in New Jersey in the 40s. But I mean, Portnoy's Complaint is great for a variety of reasons. But no, if you ever read like more Philip Roth, you read Nemesis, that would be a great book to review on the show. It's not that long either. It's like, I think 200 pages or so. But it's easy reading, though. It's easy reading. So yeah, that would be a future consideration for DA Nemesis. So thank you, Charlie Mackey, as always. And then we move on to the YouTube thing, which the YouTube super chats, because I don't know why my StreamYard still doesn't want me. Maybe I should try a DA episode while using like Edge or like what's the Google or whatever.
Oh, Chrome.
Chrome, yeah.
You use Firefox?
I use Firefox. I'm a diehard Firefox fan. Yeah. I don't know why a lot of people don't like Firefox, but I don't know why I always used it. So, anyways, let's go to the YouTube supers, and where are they? January 9th. Here we go. So JU, our good friend JU, for 10 British pounds. Thank you, JU, for GPB, British pound sterling. I'm in the UK, so never go watch live, but thanks for the consistent streams and happy belated birthdays. You guys are great, and one of the top tweets last year was Gio's about Charlie Kirk's legend. Wait, I had a tweet about Charlie Kirk? Man.
Apparently so, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, JU. Thank you. So, wow. I forget it. If you're still in the chat, if you like can refresh my memory, that would be a good
or just go look at your tweets from September.
Yeah, I'll go and look at them. Yeah. Anyways, Randall Shakur. So Randall Shirker. I keep saying Shakur. But Randall Shirker for $5. Just remember, Gio, it's all just unk slop if you point out how Vidya was better 20 years ago. It's performative nostalgia if you post CRT gaming pics. What do you think about that, Prude?
I mean, performative nostalgia. I mean, what isn't performative when you're looking for clicks?
True.
I suppose that would be the response, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think any of us do that.
Yeah.
But I do agree with the sentiment that there is a lot of performative nostalgia for the sake of clicks.
Unk slops. And we have Randall Shirker. It's funny because I remember listening to Blood Sally and Dimes. He pointed in the chat. He said Randall Shirker. So I think like I've polluted Dimes' reading of his Randall Shirker's name. So Randall Shirker for another $5. I'd appreciate if the eternal Anglos of Perfidious Albion, Morgoth, and AA would stop calling out about the ICE situation. Well, anyways.
A lot of it has to just simply do with the differences between what is and what isn't happening in our own respective countries.
Right.
Right. I don't live under Starmer, and I live under a different admin that and there's the sense of winning when again it feels so much like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like I say, there's always I guess cryptically I'll quote Michel Foucault. It is not that everything is immoral or bad, it's that everything is dangerous.
That's
true. There you go. I have 2 really big super chats, but I'll save them for the end. So here we have Ruslan Ostrovsky for 10 euros. That's, I think, the first time I've gotten euros before.
You have gotten euros before, Gio.
I've gotten euros before, but thank you for the 10 euros. So Ruslan Ostrovsky, the EU just passed a free trade deal with South America. France and Ireland opposed because their high-quality, environmentally friendly meat will have to be subsidized. There was a big thing about, oh my God. There's this, there are these accounts that exist, Prude. They're, the most obnoxious and evil people, where they're free trade, and they're, lolberts economically, but also they're, these, globe Twitter, unironic neoliberals, but they're, libs when it comes to social policy. There was this one that was going off about the Danish farmers and how it's actually good that the state's just crushing them and not subsidizing local production, and how third world countries can just produce it way better, and even though the quality will tank, they'll still produce it more economically viable. But when you read the subtext, it's a way of just destroying European societies, but doing it in a libertarian type of way. And so I think it's the same way of well, the quality of meat in Ireland and France are obviously way better. But it's oh, who cares? So it's investing money in your own people. Who cares about that? So it's I just can't this whole logic of weaponizing libertarian economics for very incredibly destructive anti-Western ends is oh man.
It is a troublesome fact of life, it seems, these days.
Yeah, but I didn't know about the meat thing.
I didn't know either. I'm gonna have to go look into it and do some research.
Yeah. Apparently, I have quite a bit of fans in Ireland too. That's good.
Well, that's good.
There you go. So thank you, Ruslan Ostrovsky, and he has another one for 5 euros. But we already did that. You said, please talk about the Supreme Court tariff decision or lack thereof. We already.
It was briefly covered.
Yeah.
I'd have to read more into it to get a better take on the issue. I guess they ruled that he doesn't have the authority to do it. I'd have to look into it. So I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer. But I will look into it, and we can talk about it next week.
Yeah. We'll talk about it next week. And then, of course, he sends another 5 euros. 5 euros. Ruslan, he says, reaction to the Martin pick. Pick looks real to me. I don't believe it's fake.
I'm pretty sure I'm aware of the group chat it was made in.
There you go.
It is fake.
There you go.
And Martin himself has said it is fake, and people lost their shit over a fake picture.
Yeah. And then Ruslan for another 10 euros. Another happening of the year. DA was almost canceled. That was
almost.
But anyways, so then we have Not Grim for $4.99 US. Thank you, Not Grim. Thoughts on season 2 of the Fallout TV show? They turned Lanus into a turbo manlet, despite being the tallest human character next to Arcade Gannon.
I have not watched the show. I knew that it was going to be bad once they said it was going to be set in the West Coast with New Vegas. and that Todd has openly said that what they're doing with the show is going to play a role in whatever they do next for their next game. Here's the nice thing: you don't have to give a shit. They can't ruin New Vegas for you. You don't have to let them ruin New Vegas for you. New Vegas is one of the greatest games of the 2010s, and you don't have to let them take that from you. So as much as they want Chuds to be mad or they want to take their own spin on things, you literally don't have to give them an inch. You can just play New Vegas and enjoy it. I know that just tells me that whatever they do with the show, they might go to the West Coast just to say fuck you again to the original game and its fans. I certainly hope that's not the case. But yeah, I don't have much to say. Them making Leggett Lanius a manlet is really unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I knew that they were going to ruin this damn show to begin with, so
yeah,
my frustration is palpable.
That girl has nice big doe eyes, Quizats. Yeah, she does. I see the commercials on YouTube once in a while. And here we have some newer super chats. I mean, we have a bunch more. Stackademics Legend for €5. Oh, you've received euros before. Name every paper straw, Paisan. They have paper straws in Europe? I thought that was a Canadian thing.
I'm pretty sure it's over there as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all the other, yeah, we have paper straws. I hate paper straws. They don't like they see the environmental impact of straws isn't even that, like, you're not offsetting it because you have to like have way more trees being cut down. So it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, unless you like use like recycled paper, I guess. I mean,
which I think is what they do, and it's actually worse for you than the plastic.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, microplastics are no joke, but like a throwaway straw, there's not that much. I mean, the chances I don't know. When I was a kid,
I'm not pro plastic, but at the same time, like,
yeah, it's stupid.
You're not getting rid of plastic to begin with, at least immediately. I mean, there are ways to reduce the amount of plastic stuff that affects you, but I mean, nevertheless, it's a funny joke. But what's the next one?
When I was a kid, I used to pretend they were cigarette straws.
Who didn't? I guess.
Yeah. So I'm not Grim from Red Hood for $1.99. Queso said New Vegas is the greatest game ever.
I don't know if I would give it that title. It's certainly one of the better games of the 2010s.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would give the greatest of all time. You'd have to break that down by genre.
I wonder what is the greatest video. It'd probably have to be like a foundational game, like Donkey Kong Country or something like that.
Maybe, you'd have to. I don't know. I'd have to really give that some thought. And also, it's just entirely dependent on what you play and how old you are to have a take on that.
I don't know what the greatest video game would be.
I don't either.
Anyways,
I hope I've played it, or I hope I will.
So not Grim again for $1.99. Women spend millions more on Gauche? Yeah, GACHA.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, what was that?
GACHA.
Yeah.
Continue the super chat. Gotcha. Got it.
Oh, okay. Because we were talking about like social media spending. Anyways, so Joshua B $1.99. Heather Harmon for life. Who is Heather Harmon?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Who the hell is Heather Harmon?
Go look that up.
Oh my God! Never. Okay, she's a prawn star.
Oh.
And she was very popular in the early 2000s.
You sick fucks.
And then she became former startup advisor, VP operation partner. Whoa! Wow. That's crazy. If someone can give me the QRD of Heather Harmon, that would be much appreciated. So anyways, how you people, sometimes I don't know. I don't know. I'm too.
You people, sometimes I don't know you.
Oh, gotcha games are like horse anime girl racing games.
Or where you spend a lot of money.
Oh, they're like freemium games?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyways, we did all the wrestling ones. Okay, Infernal for $2. How much to review emo music? It depends on the emo
What's
music.
your definition of emo music?
Are you talking Midwestern emo? Are you talking American football? Talking
Are we talking about what often gets called incel core these days?
Are you talking about like early 2000s, like My Chemical Romance?
Yeah, you talking about the stuff I grew up with or what?
I would review that Slint album. I would review that. That's real emo music.
I've never actually reviewed music before, so this would be new.
Yeah. I would definitely review the Slint album. You know, or like you know, Sunny Day Real Estate. Think of like 90s Midwestern emo. I'm trying to think here. I like all that stuff, you know. But anyways, so Quasats Chatterich for our good friend for $20 US. Do you even read? Dyer is also a gem. Prude and you introduced me to Dimes, who is the funniest dude I've ever heard. He's pretty funny.
Dimes is a very funny guy.
There you go.
He and I have a very similar sense of humor.
Yeah, me too. I like how Dimes has like a very dry corporate presentation, but that's what makes it funny. He could be like one of those like skits from like Mad TV as like some CEO or like corporate asshole, or he could be
he's very good at depicting the corporate world. He's very good at it.
He could be like, you know, what was that early internet comic, MSBC Theater, whatever it was called?
The internet comic, or do you mean like Mystery Science Theater?
No, not Mystery Science Theater.
I'm thinking of Saturday Morning Breakfast cartoon.
That one, yeah.
With
like
Zach
he could be like,
Smith.
Yeah, he could be like one of those characters, or he could be like, you know, like I'm trying to think, like sort of like, you know, a character from Office Space or something like that. Or like, Stick Death. Yeah, Stick Death was great back in the day. That was amazing. But yeah, like Dimes definitely is that character, you know, like I imagine him as his profile picture, the guy in the center. Man, I used to love Stick Death. But yeah, anyways, thank you, Quasits Chatterich, for $20 for introducing you to Dimes. Maybe he'll come on the show again soon if he promises to behave himself. Anyways, Lorefarer for $5. Thanks for being an island of sanity in an ocean of slop, guys. Thank you, Lorefarer.
That's
a great one. We try.
Often at the cost of our own sanity.
Oh, yeah. And Not Grim again for $1.99. Medicare is live, but I'll take my shekels regardless. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I know someone will mirror the stream.
Yeah. And Port Film.
I'll watch it later.
Oh, yeah, I'll watch it later, too. Port Film Co. for $2 Australian. $2 Australian dollary dues. Alexander Adams, Dissident Art Movement book guest. Well, Alex has been on my Content Minded.
And I've talked to Alex about his books before.
Yeah, and Burden has had a good one, too. So I'll probably invite him again.
Yeah, if he wants to come on, not a problem.
Yeah, you did one with him.
Yeah, this was like a couple of years ago at this point.
Yeah. All right. And so Infernal for $2. Infernal, what's the best band and why is it Linkin Park?
Well, obviously, pre-Chester Bennington Suicide, Linkin Park is
the best.
One of the best.
Yeah. I don't know. I
don't know if he's my like all-time favorite, if Linkin Park's my all-time favorite, but like it did shape me in my youth, so I don't really have anything bad to say.
Yeah, I wasn't that big of a Linkin Park fan. I was more into like you know, Korn and System of a Down and Limp Bizkit and Mudvayne, but in terms of like my all-time favorite band, to me it's like a cross between Days of the New and Nevermore. I'll probably pick Nevermore. Yeah,
that's a good pick.
Yeah. All right. You didn't know that about Chester Bennington, Sex Freakman? Have you been living under a rock?
How long has it been?
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been, you know,
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't even mean to be that guy to give you the bad news. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry. We're sorry if you're hearing this the first time. Anyways, more super chats. We have, do we have any more besides the big ones? Medicare Live, Alexander Adams, What's Best Lincoln Park, Supreme Court decision. Oh yeah, here we go. Chan the Man for $1.99. Chan the Man. To Gio, how did you get into oil painting? Well, I still do most of my work in acrylic in the studio, but I got into oil painting last. I guess that is that is like a difference of 2025. I got into oil painting just out of sheer necessity because I wanted to continue doing plein air work in the winter. And as everyone knows, you can't bring acrylics in a 0 to approaching 0 temperatures. And so I just did it sheerly out of necessity. But I still will do most of my studio work in acrylic, and I probably maybe but I know it's like for plein air stuff, it is quite convenient. I don't have to like worry about the palette, the colors drying out, and like always spraying them with water. And I mean, I am kind of annoyed a little bit about using solvent. I mean, there's ways to get around it, like you could use spike lavender, but I mean, Gamsol is pretty safe, especially outdoors, and I use gloves. So you have to use nitro gloves. So, it's all right. They dry way too fast. Well, for studio work, acrylic is particularly good because they do dry fast and you can like fix things relatively quickly. That's why a lot of illustrators over the years have preferred acrylics. I know like Thomas Kincaid used both, for example, in a lot of his illustrations. But yeah, I mean, I quite enjoy oils now. Linseed oil works. No, I mean it is linseed oil, but like I prefer to use fast drying mediums. I use Gamblin makes the solvent-free gel that is fast drying and impasto-ish, and I also use an alkyd medium called Schmaltz that is fast drying, but it's also like you can get very thick brush strokes out of it. So maybe in the future I'll probably like for studio works I'll probably maybe use linseed oil, like just because. But the thing is, like linseed dries very slowly, and it's good for like doing touch-ups and wetting out and things like that. So, I mean, most oil paintings you've seen throughout history, it's all basically just they used a lot of boiled linseed oil. They didn't have any special medium that they. I actually talked about this with Paul Talk. A lot of the old masters like Rembrandt, they didn't have like some special super secret medium. They used very basic tools and very basic painting techniques. They just did it in a different way with a lot of talent, with a lot of, I would say godly insight, put it that way. So, yeah, that's a good one. So thank you. And then we have the two big ones. Oh my God, I can't believe you guys. So Big Ben for $100 US. Thank you, Big Ben. Holy crap. Big Ben for $100. We're bringing back jokes. We're bringing back jokes, Prude.
Are we now?
I guess we are.
I guess we're bringing back jokes.
We're bringing back jokes. Well,
that requires us to have jokes in the first place.
Well, I guess
that's incredibly generous.
We're bringing back jokes for $100. Thank you so much, Big Ben. That's from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, I guess we're bringing back jokes. I mean, like that was like that title of my One American Son article, like "Clown Among the Ruins."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was good. I guess there was this Twitter mutual I had once that said he had this tweet, I'll never forget it. He said, will things get worse? Yes. Will things get funnier? Yes.
Oh yeah. Anyone who says otherwise is lying to you. Things will get worse before they get better, but as they get worse, by God, you're gonna laugh.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have to use this name now. Gio the Jonkler. The Jonkler. I remember Paul Town when the Joker film came out. He had like a series of never-ending tweets where you would call it the Chunkler. They'd be like the Chunkler, and like that was so funny. Gio the Jonkler. That's great. I'm going to change my name to that. Gio the Jonkler. Jonkler's top guy. So anyways, and here's the other big super chat of the night. Oh my God. So here we go. Denal1332, who has been with us for a long time. Denal132 for $150 US. Holy crap. I heard rumors of the DA boys wanting to review the Decalogue. Felt it was only fitting for a son of the White Eagle to dono for it. Keep up the stellar work and Happy New Year. Whoa! Son of the White Eagle. Oh my God. I would review the Decalogue. That'd be great. Are you saying your father was the director of the Decalogues? That'd be crazy if the son of Kieslowski was in our chat right now. Can you believe that? That would be crazy.
I think he's just telling you he's Polish.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's all he's telling you.
Oh, that's right, because the White Eagle, the Polish. Oh, I see. Okay. Kieslowski was truly one of the most visionary directors of all time. Like the Three Colors trilogy, like Three Colors Blue, like that is like one of the greatest films depicting female loneliness there's ever been. It's really incredible, the Three Colors trilogy. But I always wanted to watch the Decalogue. I've always wanted to watch. I'm trying to find it online somewhere. Like I think there's 8 films. Is there 8 films? There's 10 films. Yeah. So
the Decalogue is just the way to say the 10 Commandments.
Oh, that's right. But they're incredible kino. So anyways, with that, my voice is getting quite dry. So we'll be live next week on Prude's channel, and thank you all for this incredibly generous donations. And 2025 had a lot of challenges for me, and there's a lot of frustrations I had with my own output. And but hopefully 2026 will be our year. And so I thank you all from the bottom of my heart, and God bless. And this is the first stream of the year, and it's been great. So
plenty more to come, gents. We're live usually every week, so you've got 51 more to go.
There you go. All right, so let's see. Let's check Entropy there. So, all right, thank you all. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.